I remember when it crashed from 6,000 to 3,000, in that night I couldn't sleep. I was like, I really hope this doesn't die. The end of the road is global reserve currency. The end of the road is the money for everyone. Maybe 30% of all the value on planet Earth. The Winklevoss brothers put the first paperwork for a spot ETF in 2013. Why did it took it another 8 years for it to happen? Well, BlackRock had to do it. It's over for retail. Bitcoin is 100K. And that's okay though, because
we're in the flesh with the legend Plamen Andonov. How are you doing today, man?
very good.
Fantastic. So we're day 22 of filming for this film, and many people have credited you with helping them find Bitcoin and understand it. So the first question that I've got to ask you is just, what makes you a great communicator of Bitcoin?
Honestly, it's experience. I wasn't that good at the beginning. I think with time, the more time you spend explaining Bitcoin and talking to people about Bitcoin, you go through all the questions, right? And you know, when you become a Bitcoiner, you go through the same questions yourself. Like, what is this? Does it actually have any value? Is it a pyramid scheme? How does it work? Can you hack it? Can I make money from it? Especially mining in the early days, you know, retail have been piling on Bitcoin mining because it was still profitable, not at scale. And once you become a proper Bitcoiner, and by a proper Bitcoiner, what I mean is that you're not looking for a way to make money. You're not like, I'm gonna be so rich because of Bitcoin, but it's like Bitcoin opens your eyes to the problems that it's built to solve. And it's not by built to solve, I don't mean that that was the intent. I don't mean that Satoshi Nakamoto knew exactly what he was doing and exactly what's gonna happen and so on. I don't mean that. Maybe he did, maybe he didn't. But the important part is that when you understand what Bitcoin is, how it works, the different mechanics behind it, the competitiveness between the miners, the difficulty algorithm adjustment, the game theory of retail, of financial institutions, of countries, then when you realize the inflation, the printing of money, the fractional reserve of the banking, the control of the interest rates, all of this together, then you become a proper Bitcoiner, in my eyes. When you have the full picture, when you get what is Bitcoin, sure, you might like it, you might not like it, you might be like, you know what, I like fiat, I like the way it works, I know the game, I know how to cheat the game, I'm one of the people who are actually, you know, winning in this game, so I want this game to persist. Mm-hmm. I'm sure that there are people like that they like the fiat game, they love it.
Yeah, it's the inside secret of the crypto casino, is that they're all just doing scams to get more Bitcoin. Like, it's the quiet part that they won't say out loud.
Yeah, not just in crypto, but I mean in fiat in general. Sure. For instance, the 8-year-old guy, come on, what was his name?
Peter Schiff.
No, not Peter Schiff. No, not Charlie Munger, his partner.
Warren Buffett.
Yeah, Warren Buffett, for instance. Like, I'm not sure he does understand Bitcoin. I'm not saying he does. What I'm saying is that I'm not sure that he himself and other people on his level of wealth they don't understand Bitcoin. Maybe they do, but the thing is, maybe they are like, I don't want a new system.
Yeah.
Like, this system is great. This system works for me. I've already positioned myself. I don't want anything to change.
Absolutely. I have to bring this quote up because it's one of my favorite quotes. It's Nathan Mayer Rothschild. He said, "The few who understand the system of banking with capitalism will be either so interested in its profits or so dependent on its favors that there will be no opposition from that class, while on the other hand, the great body of people, mentally incapable of comprehending the tremendous advantage that capital derives from the system, will bear its burdens without complaint and perhaps without even suspecting that the system is inimical to their interests." So when you study the history of money, and especially the origins of, call it 1913 and beyond, the system was set up intentionally to be this way. And I'm a conspiracy guy, right? And so when I realized that, I said, okay, like, basically there is no solution until 2008. As far as I'm concerned, there was no solution. So people just had to run faster on the treadmill, work harder, and life has gotten more expensive. So let me just move on to, you got any comments?
Yeah, just a second thought. So Two things. So firstly, about your opinion that the system was set intentionally like this, I agree. I thought about this as well, and I was wondering, like, did they know what they were doing? And I think they knew. I think they did the math, they did the game theory of it, they did the who's gonna be winning, who's gonna be the loser, who's gonna be extracting value, who's gonna get value extracted out of him. And I think they knew. And they set it up in a way that they can perpetuate this extraction of value from people. Literally, today I visited in Bulgaria a museum of old vehicles, of old cars. And there was this young man, like 20 years old, employed there, who was doing like the tour guide and explaining things. And he showed us one vehicle. I'm gonna say the incorrect word, but it was like literally 1915 or something like that. He showed this, I think it was Ford or General Motors vehicle. And he said this was the cheapest vehicle at the time. Everything was built in a way to be as cheap as possible and as efficient as possible. What I mean by that, he said the headlights were not electric, they were gas powered. I didn't know today also that they had gas power. But it was some chemical reaction between gas and something else that was making the lights of the vehicles. He explained that the crate that the vehicle was coming in after that was used like at the bottom of the vehicle or something like that. So when they assemble it, so the manufacturer thought about everything to be as cheap as possible. The paint, it was always black because it was the cheapest and it was drying the fastest, and so on and so on and so on. So it was the most efficient possible vehicle in order to get a running vehicle that's nothing too special, but you have a vehicle that you can definitely everyone can afford. And when he said everyone can afford, he said with the average salary at the time, 4 weekly wages, which is 1 month of income, was enough to buy this vehicle.
Wow.
And this was, I think it was 1910, something like that, because I was like 113 years, so it was 1912. 113 years later, today, after so much innovation, after so much, bringing optimization to all processes and so on, you cannot purchase a vehicle with 1 monthly income. It's impossible.
No.
So someone in some way is stealing, is extracting the value created by all the deflationary forces created by all engineers all around the world. And then, because I was with some Bitcoiners and some no-coiners in the vehicle, I said, it's a different topic, but I'm just gonna say it. To me, it's the monetary system that's messing things up. And after 100 years, instead of us being able, to have a roof over our head, to put food on the table for us and our family, we still cannot do it with less than 40 hours a week. We still have to do it in 40 hours. After all the optimizations, after the change of the electrical bulbs to be more efficient electrical bulbs, with the change of air conditioning, have this and that, at the end, 100 years later, after so many optimizations, again, we have to live paycheck to paycheck. So going back to your initial question, how did they become a good Bitcoin educator and going through, speaking with people and being able to convey the message of Bitcoin? I think 2 things were needed. One is that you need to be of some age in order to be able to do that. I'm not saying it's impossible, but I'm saying it's much harder if you're, let's say, 15 years old or 20 years old or 25 years old. You have to have went through life. You have to be part of the real economy, have to, behave in a certain way at work, even if you don't like something, even if you don't disagree, that at some point you have to keep quiet, you have to understand that it's not going to be your way, maybe you don't have the authority, maybe it's not your decision and so on. You have to have started to pay obviously your own bills, pay your taxes, think about, okay, I make $1,000, out of it 600 or 650 come to me and the other goes to taxes. Do I care about how my money is spent? You start caring after you start paying taxes. Until then, you just don't. So this is the one condition. The second condition is just some experience. Like at the very beginning, I don't think I was the best Bitcoin educator, but let's say after a year of experience, 2 years, 3 years, the longer you do it, the better you get at it.
You just got me thinking, because I saw Bitcoin's price at $23 when my friends were buying things on the Silk Road. And I just never connected the dots. I was very skeptical from the age of 16. A lot of things blew my mind that I realized I needed to start questioning everything, be a critical thinker. But I think it's a great point, because I didn't start paying my own bills until after I was out of college, right? Mm-hmm. And so that was 22, 23 years old, and I found Bitcoin just a few years later. So I've actually never thought about that before, and I think that actually is maybe the reason that I never connected such obvious dots. I knew the Federal Reserve was a private bank 14, 15 years ago, right? But yeah, that's something to think about for sure. And yeah, you really don't see very many young Bitcoin educators that are highly successful in communicating and getting through to a lot of people. So how did you actually start the channel? Like, were you inspired by somebody else? Like, what was the initial inception of that?
So Andreas Antonopoulos, Orange Pilled Me, like many others. I'm a technical person, I'm a software developer by craft, and he spoke not about the price. He didn't speak about one day Bitcoin is gonna be $1 million. All he was saying is that how inefficient the current system is. He was talking about not the current state of Bitcoin, but what the potential is. And again, this is 2017. He said, with the Internet of Things, with AI, with robotics, you're gonna have more robots paying other robots than people paying other people in the not that distant future. And listening to him and looking at what the Bitcoin protocol is, it just made sense to me. So this is how I got Orange Pilled. I wasn't like, oh, I'm gonna get so rich with this. Right. Maybe I was too dumb because I was not realizing Bitcoin is gonna go to the moon. I was not thinking about it. I was like, this makes so much sense. I feel like this is the future. It just makes sense. Also, the other thing that makes sense to me was the limited amount of money. I was like, yeah, if we had a limited amount of money, then literally we are gonna measure our goods and services in this amount of money. And with time, of course, things should get cheaper because we have the same amount of money, but the goods and services over time increase because of human ingenuity. So this 2017, I started talking about Bitcoin to my friends. No one really listens. I remember when Bitcoin was at 5,000, 2017, and I'm all about Bitcoin and talking to my friends about it. And one guy said, well, yeah, but it's gonna hit 10,000, that's gonna be it. And I was like, but why? What do you mean? He said, that's it, that's the maximum that Bitcoin can get to. And I was like, but it doesn't make any sense. Why would 10,000 be a hard cap, like a hard stop, like that's it, it's 10,000, that's it, cannot go higher. I was like, no, it doesn't make sense. At the bull market, went to 20,000, right? Then it crashed down to 3,000. I'm heavily underwater because I started, I was DCAing the whole way to the top, then the whole way to the bottom, and I'm underwater because my average price is higher than 3,000. At the time, I remember when it crashed from 6,000 to 3,000, in that night, I couldn't sleep. I was like, I really hope this doesn't die because I really think this has the potential to change the world. And I remember, these were thoughts in my head. I remember the word saying to myself, I'm fine losing all my savings. Like, that's fine. Like, I'm young, I have a good profession, I'm gonna continue working, I'm gonna make new money, like, doesn't matter. But I hope this doesn't die. Because that will be so much worse potential to the world and so much bigger than me. I mean, again, it's the whole world that it could change. Who am I? Like, no, I'm just one person, right? And thankfully it didn't die. Then comes 2019, Bitcoin recovers a bit. Corona crash comes through in 2020. And by 2020, I'm 3 years into Bitcoin, right? 2017, 18, 19, 20, even 4 years. Mm-hmm. And I'm like a bit more experienced now, okay? I've told everyone about Bitcoin. Literally no one listened, literally. I had one Bitcoin friend who I met at a job. I started posting on Facebook about Bitcoin and he was like, oh man, do you have Bitcoin as well? I have Bitcoin, and started chatting. So that's it, 2020, I have one Bitcoin friend, that's it. I couldn't orange pill anyone. this is what I'm saying. Yeah. Maybe I was not the best Bitcoin educator at the beginning. So I couldn't orange pill anyone. I have one Bitcoin friend, and then what happens is that after the halving, I'm like all in, Corona crash happens, it passes by, and then at the time I was living, 2019, I was still living in UK, in London, and I came back to Bulgaria, and I decided to check, I know a new bull run is gonna come. Like, you look at the chart, it's halving, bull run, like the pattern is clear. And I'm like, okay, so we're gonna have a new bull run. I'm well positioned, I DCA'd, I went through the brutal bear market, I was heavily underwater, lost over half my money and so on. So I'm like, I know what I'm doing, I was ready to lose all my money, I'm fearless at this point. Like, Bitcoin is the future, I hope to survive, I'm gonna do what I can for it to survive. And then what happens is, I check on YouTube, is there any Bulgarian people who have a Bitcoin channel? When you type Bitcoin in Cyrillic in our alphabet, in Bulgarian alphabet, what happens is that you had some segments, like 10 minutes from the Bulgarian television, where they were just talking about Bitcoin, but it's general segment where, who created it, when, is it a pyramid scheme, stuff like that. Not in a bad manner, but just like some coverage from like a few years ago. You had, let's say, one other guy who has a channel about random stuff in life, and he had one clip, 20 minutes about Bitcoin. I can't remember if it was positive or negative. Let's say balanced. And then there was only one person who we already spoke with, Ivan Ivanov from Plovdiv, who had a proper Bitcoin channel where I see him creating videos since 2018, and his channel had, let's say, a video a week on average, something like that. Some months he didn't have at all videos, some months he had only one, but overall it's definitely not a dead channel. There is content being pushed, and let's say there was a video at the time, let's say it's like a month ago or something, or maybe a week ago. So it looked like, like this person still into Bitcoin, creating content and so on. So I contacted him, and meanwhile I was like, you know what, I don't see a lot of content, I have what to say, so I'm gonna create a channel. And the main motivator was not that I found this person, it's not that I found almost no content. The main motivation was that I joined the Facebook group in Bulgaria, the largest one at the time, which the moment I joined, there were snipers who were monitoring the group for newcomers who join the group. The moment you join, you receive a direct message. Hi, how are you? Are you into cryptocurrencies and so on? And I responded. It was one lady. And the lady was like, yeah, so we have this amazing thing that brings you 20% interest rate every month. Yada, yada, yada. And I was like, this is a crypto pyramid scheme. Like, I know what it is. And she said like, no, you don't get it. It isn't. And I'm like, okay, listen, there is two possibilities. Either you're part of the crypto pyramid scheme and you don't care that you're lying to people and you're inviting people, yes, they're gonna make some money on paper for X amount of time until it comes crashing down, they're gonna lose their money, or you just don't understand what you're doing and what you're dealing with. So it's either or. She said, come to this presentation that we have. Again, this is 2020. We have the situation with the pandemic everywhere, so everything's locked down, so it's on Zoom, and we do the conversation on Zoom. So there is this guy, with the tie, with the suit, and he starts presenting and how if you join his thing and put $1,000 or $2,000 or whatever, after X amount of months, you're gonna make X amount of money, and the crazy returns, it was literally 20% a month, which sounds very, very lucrative, for a year, you're gonna like triple your money and so on. And I know what it is. Again, I'm 4 years into Bitcoin. I know what's happening. I've already sold the shitcoin casino and everything. And I played dumb at the end of the presentation. He says, is there any questions from the audience? And I'm the first guy to raise a hand. And he gives me the microphone, And I'm like, hi, amazing presentation. It was so informative. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you very much. So I was just wondering, are you going to sign a contract about this? And he said, oh, well, it's cryptocurrencies. It's not properly regulated. There are no contracts. And then I can't remember what are the other questions, but I asked a few other questions that just highlight the problems. So I'm just playing dumb. I'm just playing like I'm very interested. I just have some questions, And he did not like the questions at all. So, and then he said, after the second or third question, he said, okay, listen, Plamen, we are on limited time here. I'm sorry, but we are not gonna we have to move on. We cannot give you, more time, but you can contact me after that. And he said, is there anyone who has any questions? And again, he's asking the general audience, 30 people, if any actually properly have a question or anything. No one for like 5, 10, 15 seconds raised a hand. And then, in my opinion, the plugged into the audience, their guy raised the hand. And when they give him the microphone, he's like, oh man, this is amazing. How can I send the money? Like, I want it right now. It's so good and so on. And they start talking about that. People started leaving. I left because they muted me and so on. But I saw a few people leaving before me, then I left and so on. So when I saw this was the motivator. This is the motivator to create my channel. And edit it after that in the movie, but what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just my point is that it's more visible in what I'm showing here.
Yeah.
But what I'm going to do is I'm gonna open YouTube and I'm gonna search for my old channel. And why I'm saying old channel, because there we moved to a new channel. So these are literally my videos that I uploaded, right? The first videos. So the first video was uploaded on 20th of August 2020, okay? 20th of August 2020. And my first video, the first ever video, is called What is Bitcoin? And it's an 30-minute video in which I, in a comic manner, I started like, oh, you know what, most probably you got this video linked by a friend who told you, have you heard of this Bitcoin thing, we're gonna be rich, and so on. And then I go into going through what is money, how does it work, that it's about the economy and trading of goods. Then I go through gold, the history of gold, that there is proof of work into gold. Then I go into the fiat money. And I just go through the standard, like story of what money is, then about Bitcoin, Satoshi Nakamoto, the created it, and so on. I haven't clicked through the video in quite a bit of time. Then I see the halving, the nodes, how many Bitcoins there are, how many were lost, and so on. And it's just like a general introduction of what Bitcoin is. But of course, in any means, you cannot explain, like the whole story of Bitcoin and everything, but you can pick up the interest. So this is why it's a bit of a video where I'm, like putting some jokes where I'm saying like, someone send you the video because he thinks that, you're going to get rich of Bitcoin most probably, or let's say, maybe you've heard that it's a pyramid scheme, and then I show a pyramid like the Mayan pyramids, and then like, no, not that type of pyramid, and stuff like that. So this is the first video. The second video is the first transaction with Bitcoin. So it's just 2 minutes video where I talk about the first transaction, how it happened, and so on. Then it's about, is it too late to purchase Bitcoin? Then the next one is about a company that was giving you Bitcoin back if your flight got late. The fifth video is what is blockchain. So how does the blockchain of Bitcoin works? Just the technical, the non-technical explanation of the technical things of the blockchain with the hashes, with connecting to the previous block, and so on. And the sixth video is the video for which I started the whole channel. I just didn't want to start with that. I had to put some background of what is Bitcoin, the transactions, and so on. And the sixth video is the biggest scam in crypto. And in this video, what I personally talk, because through my eyes at the time, it was BitConnect from 2017. Okay. So I talk about BitConnect, the parties, the media, like the hype and so on. And then in the same video, at the end of the video, I show as an example that there are modern versions, and in my eyes, the modern version is the one that I got invited to. I can't remember what was it called. I have some names in my head, but I'm not sure what it was. I'm not going to put any names, but in the video I talk about BitConnect, and I finish up with that, like now it's years later, but we have the same schemes and different people playing the same book, trying to hype you out that you're going to have crazy returns, you're going to have crazy yield, and you're going to get money. And then the next thing is, could I buy Bitcoin at 100 level, which is 50 euro? Where do the rich people keep their money? Meaning not in fiat, not in the, under the mattress or whatever. Then the next one is your money in the bank are not your money. And then it's a video about the Winklevoss brothers. They have this amazing article in 2020 about the road to Bitcoin at 500,000. So they half a million. So they typed this article when Bitcoin was 10K. And they say the case for Bitcoin at 500,000. So why most probably it's going to go there, and talk about the fiat, about the national debt, about how it's spiraling out of control, about what do you do when your debt is unpayable, either you do hard default or a soft default, or you inflate it away, and so on. So I do 30 minutes coverage of this article, and I explain it and I translate it and so on. So my point is that the channel did not start with let's make money off of Bitcoin, let's put my referral links, let's put this company and that company and this exchange and that exchange. It was literally my way of giving back to the community, giving back to the world, because I felt like I was given a lot. Even though at the time maybe I was still not in profit from Bitcoin in fiat terms, sure. I was like, that's it, I get it, I'm gonna assist for this to succeed. I've been given a lot already, free content. I have to give back.
And and there was a lack of that for the Bulgarian audience specifically.
Yes.
So
if there was no lack of, most probably I wouldn't have done it. But there was definitely a big one. I was like, someone has to do it. I feel capable enough to do it. And I started recording videos daily at the time.
Wow, what a story, man. It's like the visual that comes to mind is like you're walking in the street and the train is coming and there's somebody who's not paying attention and they're about to get hit by that train. Every single person that's not a psychopath is going to grab that person and pull them back, right?
Yes.
That's essentially what's happening when people's life savings are being stolen through these scams. And again, it's like 2025 now. The scams are just shape-shifting a little bit. So what are the things, I have a couple questions, but what are the things that you're watching out for today or educating people about? Is that still your mission, or not mission, but is that still something that drives you and drives your content, is educating people on Bitcoin, not crypto? Or just how has your reason for making content evolved over time a little bit?
Let me circle back to that, but just mention about the evolution of the channel, because it's like what drives me today. But in order for that to make sense, I have to go shortly through the evolution. Like, how did you get from the first 5 videos, 6 videos to where we are today? So after I started uploading these videos, they were pre-recorded, myself just editing a bit like an intro and outro and uploading to YouTube. When I got some popularity, some followers, they started asking me about commenting this news or that news. And then I was like, okay, let's start doing streams. So at the time I was still working remotely for the digital agency in London. And because it's in London, we have a time difference. There we started work at 9, which in Bulgarian time was 11. I had my time until 11. I actually agreed with my employer to start at 8, an hour earlier, not 2 hours earlier, an hour earlier. So I had to, by 10, I had to start work at 10 a.m. Bulgarian time, which is 8 in UK time. So until 10 I was free. So what I was doing was like, I started a stream at like 8:30 until 10, or at 9 until 10. And after I finish the stream, I start work. I finish work until the end of the day, let's say 6, 7 p.m. When I finish work, I start checking for news, what's happening, seeing what's up in our Discord server or in the Facebook group. And then, like just have dinner, whatever, go to sleep. And then the next day starts over. So my point is literally work and 4 hours of the Bitcoin channel. Plus the editing, plus at the very beginning, like you have to create the assets, the branding, the pick up a background music, do this, do that, remind myself how do you work with editing software and so on. And after I got some popularity, I started doing the streams. After I started doing the streams, then eventually started doing meetups in person. When let's say we hit 1,000 followers or 2,000, 5,000, whatever it was. Then started doing the meetups in person. It was 2020, 2021. It was still the time of the pandemic. A majority of the restaurants were like no more than 4 people on the table, and also like let's say 1 table of space between you or some crazy rules like that. So we go to a restaurant to have the meetup, and then we spread out so much and then start sitting from table to table to table. So we did a bunch of these meetups, and then I felt a bit uncomfortable because some people are coming from other towns to meet up. And then by the time I get to their table, it was like 2 hours later or 3 hours later, and they were like, let's say 2 hours later, they were like, I'm sorry, I really have to go. I've been, I came to Sofia to meet up with you, but I had X amount of time. Sadly, you didn't come to my table during this time, but I just want, like handshake with you, give you a small gift, whatever, and I have to go. And I felt, a bit uncomfortable because of that. And this is how the idea for the conferences came, because I was like, let's make a bigger meetup, which is a conference. So I announced it. We sold out 300 tickets for a place, and then the place turned out that they messed up the date. So I already sold the tickets. We didn't have the contract with the place because we were like, okay, yeah, for sure, it's we hold it off for you and so on. And then it turned out like, no, they misunderstood which date we met. And we checked in the email, they had the correct date in the email, just some employee of theirs messed up the data. And then what happens is like we have to either change the date, which is a bit messed up, or we have to change the location. In order to change the location, there was no other economically viable with the same size venue. So we had to go to a larger venue that might be more expensive, but at least it's larger. So we got 500 people. So then it's not, thankfully, the tickets for the whole, for the 500 venue conference. So we did that. Then a year later we did another conference, then a year later we did another conference, and now we're going to have the next edition, the fourth edition of the Bulgarian Bitcoin conference. And my point is that this curve throughout the years, because again, like let's say you speak about Bitcoin, you explain Bitcoin, like how many hours do you need to explain Bitcoin? Like you run out of topics to run. You talk about Satoshi Nakamoto, let's say the Genesis block, let's say you talk about you can branch out from Bitcoin only to fiat, explaining what the fiat, because without understanding properly fiat, you really cannot get Bitcoin. What problem does it solve? Because you don't see the problem. Maybe you're going to understand what Andreas is explaining about how the Visa MasterCard are charging you 2% fees or a flat amount of fee and so on, and you don't have, because of that, you don't have micro payments where, let's say, I want to pay just 1 cent, right? Or let's say 10 sats or 50 sats in order to unlock just one piece of content, one article, one blog post or whatever, or in order to protect from spam. Let's say it's gonna cost me 1 cent in order to post a comment, right? Because usually bot attacks, the only expense is writing the code and also the electricity for the server, which is negligible.
Right.
But the moment you have to spend 1 cent per comment, you want to put thousands of comments, quickly, it's going to add up and you're going to stop doing that. So it's a perfect spam protection, and at the same time, it's a perfect way to monetize, because let's say if you have a million followers and let's say 100K from them give you 1 cent, well, you get some nice amount of income per article, as long as it's actually, valuable article. The people, have followed you, know that your work is good, so they're gonna pay 1 cent. Like, what is that? It's nothing. But we don't have that service. We don't have that because of our legacy, outdated, and honestly getting in the way financial system.
Right.
So you're gonna get that, but you're not gonna get the inflation. You're not gonna get the fractional reserve banking. You're not gonna get the central banks. You're not gonna get the Cantillon effect, I think it was called, right? Yeah. Whoever spends the money first is the one who wins, and the later you spend, the more trouble you're gonna have. So let's say you branch out to the fiat system, but then the thing is, the same way that we separated church from the government, we have to separate government from the money. And for a reason, Bitcoin is created in 2008. And for a reason, the Genesis block says, I hope I don't mess it up, cancer on the brink of a second bailout. And my point is like, what does this mean? It means it's a protest. We have to separate the money from the state. You cannot make a decision. I'm going to bail out this guy, but I'm not going to bail out that guy.
Right.
Like, that's not right. So my point is that you branch out, you start speaking about the fiat system, you start speaking about the politics connection to the fiat system and so on. So my point is that over 5 years, at the end, I spoke about so many things, right? all of them, Bitcoin related. Like, for instance, the latest thing that I speak about in my channel is AI and robotics. Because to me, that is also connected to Bitcoin. Because again, if Bitcoin is money, and Bitcoin is the future of money, the monetary network in terms of how we pay, and also the monetary unit with what we pay, then robots are going to be paying other robots in Bitcoin, not in dollars, not in euros, not in leva, our currency. And they're going to use the Lightning Network or some other layer of the Bitcoin protocol. And with AI comes deflation, right? For instance, I myself as a software developer, I'm so much faster using these AI tools where I describe what I need in terms of functionality, it writes it for me, I walk through the code, I'm unhappy, I explain why, I explain what, I want this technology to be used, I want you to keep it dry, don't repeat yourself, I don't want to create a new function, we already have that function, use that function, right, in order to not have the same function with the 2 different names and using in 2 different parts of the code and so on. So you have to be software engineer in order to properly use these tools and to their fullest extent, but I'm so much faster today, right? And for instance, I'm writing now in Python, like I did not know Python. Now because I've been dealing with Python for 6 months, I'm much more comfortable with it and also familiar with it. At the very beginning though, I was like, write me some code in Python that does this, and it does me some code, and the thing is, I don't know if it's right or not, so I try to run it. But if it runs, then it's right. And I'm like, okay, This is the correct syntax of Python, but also, yes, there is difference between the programming languages, but it's the same thing, right? It's something that gets assigned to some variable, you have a function that you give it, pass it some data and so on. So my point is that AI is deflationary. Why is it deflationary? My output went through the roof thanks to these things. With robotics, physical robotics, our output is gonna go through the roof. And I think earlier we talked about deflation and how for 100 years ago we used to have vehicles that cost one average monthly income. Today we don't have that, right? Today we don't have that. So my point is that with this new technology, with these new deflationary forces, are we finally be able to work 4 hours a day, 20 hours a week? Or are we still gonna go to work for 40 hours, right? So this is the topics that I discuss now in connection with Bitcoin, and I feel like, like my push in Bulgaria for Bitcoin adoption, for Bitcoin understanding, it's not just about what Bitcoin is, which is mandatory. You have to know, you have to answer your questions. Can you hack it? Can quantum computers hack it? Can, when they hack an exchange, did they hack Bitcoin? You have to know how let's say the fees are calculated for the main blockchain. There is a competition for the fees. There are miners that are going to pick up the higher fees, or if they have some other arrangements, some other transactions that are not paying the high fees, and so on. So in past, you have to go through the technicalities of Bitcoin. You have to go through the fiat system, and you have to overall, we talked about earlier how important it is to have life experience. You have to go over, the economy, the life, the free competition, the deflation. And overall, that our time, the word utopia, I feel like it had a bad connotation today. When you say utopia, people are like, oh man, this is one of those crazy people who thinks that, we are building a utopia. Like, dude, what are we building? Are we building hell on life? Like, is this what we want? Nightmares? Or you actually want to build a utopia? We want to build nice cities. We want to build them with a lot of green parks. We want to build them with clean air. We want to build them where you can live, let's say, not for free, because there is nothing free, but with your contribution to society to be fairly paid for, and hopefully, thanks to all the deflationary forces over time, to be able to spend more time of what you want and less time of what you have to do in order to pay your rent, in order to pay your mortgage, in order to pay for food on the table.
He's a good communicator, I'll tell you that. Wow. You just blew my mind in many ways. Robotics and AI definitely is a topic. Like if you're a young person and you feel like you're too late to Bitcoin, but we're not too late to Bitcoin anyways. But what would you recommend if somebody's in that position that, hey, I want to set myself up for a future where I can add value to society? Like, where would you start? What would the things that you would learn? Would you learn coding? Would you try and learn robotics? Bitcoin plays a part in that. Like, any advice for somebody just getting started?
So a few things on that. The first one, I don't know if you meant it under this connotation, but let's say younger people today might feel like they miss the chain on Bitcoin.
Right.
And by the chain, I mean buying Bitcoin at $1 and being able to sell it $100,000. So exchanging literally your pocket money for a flat in Bulgaria today. So did they miss the chain? Yes, they did. I'm sorry, that's the reality, right? I missed it as well. I started purchasing Bitcoin at thousands of dollars instead of hundreds of dollars or a few dollars. And that's okay though, because majority of the people who purchased Bitcoin at $1, they sold it at $2. That's the reality.
Like,
that's the reality.
The vast majority.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And the people who didn't either went to jail or they were proper visionaries who knew what they were buying, who knew what they're holding, and they most probably continued buying the dips at higher prices. So the way I see it is that some people feel like it's not fair that some Bitcoiners, let's say, got rich off of Bitcoin. I don't see it like that. These people brought a lot of value, because this is what the free market should do, should reward people who bring value. Mm-hmm. So what did the people buying Bitcoin at, let's say, $1 and haven't sold it today, let's say at $150 or whatever it is, the bottom market at 2014, 13, 14, the bottom is about 150. So let's say the people who bought there. Then let's say the next bottom is $3,000. So let's say the people who bought 3,000 and haven't sold until today at 100,000, and today they can sell, you know, a 30x profit measured in fiat. What value did they create, and how is it fair for them to be rewarded like that? Well, they saved the Bitcoin. If no one came in to buy Bitcoin at the brutal bear markets, at the 80%, 85% drawdown, if no one was buying these coins, miners were going to stop mining it. Like, they're not doing it just out of the good of their hearts. Here, Bitcoin, I'm going to pay the electricity bill. Don't worry about it. I'm going to purchase the new ASIC miners. I'm going to mine Bitcoin for free. Don't worry about it. Bitcoin can go to zero. Like, I don't care. Like, no. They're for-profit businesses. They're entrepreneurs who are risking their capital, right? In order to set the whole system. So my point is that the people who bought Bitcoin at the bear markets, and not only, of course, they paid the bill. They were the ones who supported financially the protocol, the adoption, in order for it to happen. So let's start from that. The second thing is, did they miss the chain because they're going to be buying now Bitcoin to 100,000, 150,000, $1 million? So some people are going to say that the people earlier got a better deal. Sure, I'm not going to say they didn't, but the people coming in now are going to get a different deal. What I mean by that is the following. The people buying earlier took the large risk. Let's say people who bought 2011, what the hell are you buying? Bitcoin. Even at the time, even I with today's knowledge, not obviously seeing the future, meaning from back then seeing the future was going to happen in the next 15 years, I'll be like, the chances of this succeeding are extremely slim.
Right.
The idea is sound, the protocol is sound, it makes sense. The chance of success though, it's like less than 1%. Yeah. Like, what's the chance this is not gonna die? You know, like, people are gonna lose interest, it's gonna get hacked, a new fork is gonna come and take over, some other crypto is gonna pop up or whatever, right? The chances of Bitcoin succeeding in 2011 are like 1%, right? Whoever puts some money, let's say $10,000 and he got 10,000 Bitcoin at $1 each, right? I mean, he literally put money on the table and set it on fire. And let's see what sticks, right? That's the equivalent of it. So good job if he did that. He took the risk. He had that money saved up. He bought Bitcoin, and let's see what happens. And he had to wait for many years, right? So the next thing, let's say 2013, 14. Well, Bitcoin, yeah, maybe the risk is smaller at that time, but it's still, other cryptos started popping up. ICOs come after that. We still didn't have the first proper major fork of Bitcoin. There is so much unknown ahead, and the question, if it's so good, if it's gonna separate money from the state, if you're gonna make the state lose its power over the monetary policy and everything monetary, aren't they just gonna ban it? It was really the smart question to ask. It was not a dumb question at the time, because you have so little few Bitcoiners at the time. They're, let's say, 1% of the population or less, maybe 0.5. So they're not just a minority, they're a micro minority. Right. So the moment the governments realize this is a threat, they ban it all, altogether. And the 99.5% of the population, what happened? What did they pass? Like, they banned something, like, I don't know. And that's it. Did you catch the game last night, right? So this is what's going to happen. And then let's say 2017, 18. For the first time, we have some proper hype around it. Bitcoin gets to thousands of dollars. Still there is, the CNN clips of that Asian lady, I can't remember her name, who scoffs at Tommy Lee talking about Bitcoin and how, it's not dead, and most probably it's not a bad idea to put 1 to 3%. I just recently watched that clip, and the lady is like, 1 to 3%? Like, you better literally, this is what she said, put the money and just set it on fire. Like, you're shooting in the dark here. And so 2017, when I got in, the risk was definitely lower. We already had Andreas, we already had other Bitcoin educators, we already had, I'm not sure, but maybe we had the first, at least small scale Bitcoin conferences. So the risk was definitely much smaller at the time. And then comes 2020, 2021, 2022. I mean, Michael Saylor comes out of nowhere. And he's like, I purchased Bitcoin for $500 million. Like, Are you insane? There is no story like that at the time. There is no story like that. I remember in 2021, the first time when I said to myself, that's it, Bitcoin won. The first time I said, so in 2019, 2020, I say, I really hope this doesn't die. It's so important. I'm fine losing all my money. I'm fine, researching, starting from the start with 0 sats today, but someone to guarantee me this is not gonna die. I'll take that deal. I was all my savings until that time. I'll start saving now in Bitcoin moving forward, but for someone to do something so this doesn't die. 2 years later in 2021, I'm like, okay, that's it. We won. Wow. It's happening. And here is what made me do that. It wasn't Michael Saylor or some war purchase like that. Maybe it was naive at the time, but to me that was the tale. When PayPal announced that they are going to allow Bitcoin services, purchasing, holding on their platform. And again, this is my analysis at the time. I'm not sure if this is what happened, but Square on Jack Dorsey announced, I forgot what was the number, but like a lot of profit in Q1 of 2021. And the moment they did that, I was like, this sends a signal. They're printing money off of Bitcoin. Others have to follow and adopt Bitcoin services, or they're gonna leave money on the table, let them get all the customers, let them get all the fees, and they're just gonna outgrow them. And over time, people who hold the shares, the board of directors, they're gonna, notice that they're losing ground here and they're losing money to the competitor who's sooner or later gonna replace them. So I thought that. And then PayPal announces we're gonna, it was the summer of 2021, we're gonna have Bitcoin services as well. We're gonna allow customers to purchase Bitcoin through our platform. That was the moment I was like, okay, because I was like, people don't care. They're not Bitcoiners. They're not for Bitcoin. They're like, not like, let's help the adoption of Bitcoin. Like, no, their arm got twisted. This is what happened. Their arm got twisted so strong, they had to act on it. They knew what I was thinking. They're leaving money on the ground. And other companies are going to get that money, or Square is going to continue getting that money, but it's not them. And they're losing ground. The other company is growing, they're not. Then what happens is, we have the end of the bull market, sadly. We have the bear market, and Bitcoin is at 15,000. 2 days before the drop from 20,000 to 15,000, 2 days before that, I have a post on my profile where I say, I'm afraid that this is the last chance. The last chance of the Bulgarian citizen to accumulate one whole Bitcoin. And then it's a long post where I'll explain the cycles of Bitcoin, how we have a bull market, we have a bear market, we have a halving, we have adoption that grows over the years and so on. And I explain, in short, the Bitcoin adoption in that, yes, I get it. Bitcoin is at 20,000 at the time, down like over 70% from 69,000 top. I get it. But still, listen to me. Most probably, this is not dying. Most probably, this is not going to zero. Most probably, this is just the next bear market. I don't know if this is the bottom, but what I do know is that at $20,000, which in Bulgarian money, because our salary is here in Bulgarian lev, at the time, let's say the dollar is 1.7, so this is, let's say, less than 40,000 leva, let's say 35,000 leva. It's not easy, but it's doable. And I remember now that in the post, I went through the bottom, each bottom cycle's number in dollars and in leva compared to the average salary in Bulgaria. So it's like, let's not talk about 2011, 12, it's too early. But let's talk about 2013, 2014. $150 is nothing. At the time it was like, I think it was equal to like one minimum wage.
For a month.
For a month, yeah. In Bulgaria, we talk in months, not a year salary. So one minimum wage for a month. Like, let's say you're a minimum wage worker. Can you buy one Bitcoin? No, you cannot. You have to save the one salary, right? But at the same time, most probably, if you're an absolute minimum wage worker, most probably, you're a young kid just doing something during the summer for a few months or whatever and so on. So majority, not everyone, definitely, let's say not pensioners that are barely keeping ends meet with minimum pensions in Bulgaria and that are less than the minimum wage and so on. But just thinking about that, holy moly, can you imagine? The pensions in Bulgaria 10 years ago were less than $100. That's also brutal, by the way. Yeah, because those were the numbers, yeah. But majority of Bulgarians, let's say at least half of the population over 18 years old, at least half, most probably 80, 90%, were able to purchase a Bitcoin if they actually had it as a goal, right? If they are like, okay, this makes sense, it's not a sure thing, but it's a good idea. Let's put effort into purchasing one Bitcoin. Can you do it just like when the salary comes at the end of the month? Most probably no. Most probably you're gonna save for a few months. Most probably you have to be able to buy, let's say, 0.3 Bitcoin this month, maybe 0.5 next one, and then 0.2 the last one. But the thing is, the bear market, the price was like close to $150, $200 for like 6 months. You had plenty of time to do it. And then the next bear market that I list in my post, like, the bottom is 3,000, roughly 3.2, 3.4K. And I'm like, can you purchase a Bitcoin? At the time, the salary is a bit higher, but not 10 times higher, right? Compared to Bitcoin's bottom from $200 to average of 3 point something. So it's in level, I write in the post 5,000 level. And let's say it's a few salaries. So is it possible not for all of the Bulgarians at the time already? It's hard. Because it's like, let's say, 3 full salaries, right? So 3 full salaries for a year, if you aggressively save, because that's going to be 30% of your income, you're going to be able to, but it's not an easy job. If you're a high earner though, easy, definitely easy. Even in a month, most probably you'll be able to do it. If not in a month, in 2-3 months, you're going to be able to do it for sure. One Bitcoin, just one Bitcoin. And then on 20,000, I'm like, that's the last chance, dude. Is it the last chance? Now we're not talking about minimum wages, because minimum wages is like 35 minimum wages. Let's say in average wages it's gonna be like 20, 25. Let's say in very good salaries in Bulgaria, it's gonna be, I don't know, like 5 maybe. So it's getting harder and harder. And I'm like, that's it. That's it. This is the last chance. I'm not saying do it now. This is not a financial advice, but I'm telling you, maybe it's worth it. Spend some time, research Bitcoin, see what it is, understand it, look through my post history, look through my channel, look through other free content on the internet. Because that's it. It's the last chance. To this day, I have that post and I reference it quite frequently because I'm like, I knew it. I just knew it. I wasn't sure, obviously. I cannot see the future. I wasn't sure in the meaning of like, I told all my friends to, get loans and purchase Bitcoin right now. Like, I'll never do that. And I don't want to take that responsibility. But I was realizing that chances are, this is the moment. You act right now or you miss it. 2 days later, Bitcoin crashed to 15,000. I think it was after FTX announced his bankruptcy. And I do a stream. And in that stream, what I say is like, I am now putting my emergency fund money into Bitcoin. I'm like, this is what I do. It's not again financial advice. I'm just sharing what I do. I'm like, Bitcoin went through a brutal bear market. Because in 2017-18, like, what did we have? China banned Bitcoin for the 5th time. This is what we had. Like, it was bad price-wise, but it was not bad, what's the correct word? Not community-wise, but industry-wise, right? We didn't have Celsius going under. We didn't have 3 Arrow Capital going under. We didn't have FTX going under, right? Which are not per se Bitcoin-only companies or whatever, but they are in the whole ecosystem as a whole. A lot of people had their Bitcoin there, right? Left at some interest rate, at some yield, or let's say taking loans against it. And you took, let's say, 30% of your Bitcoin's value as a loan, and then you lose all your Bitcoin because you had it in that custodian. So I, thankfully, for one reason or another, have not lost any Bitcoin, any money anywhere. I still have my hardware wallet that I purchased in 2017. It still works.
Wow.
Yeah, it still works. It still works. Should I say the name?
It's up to you, man.
I'm gonna say it just because, again, it works for 8 years.
Yeah,
so
that's
my personal experience.
Don't
so
say Ledger though.
It is Ledger.
No, it's Ledger.
It's Nano X. So I bought the Nano X in 2017. It's the one with the battery and so on. I haven't tested actually without the battery, does it still work? But my point is I connect the cable. To this day it works.
Yeah.
Obviously, there is many issues with Ledger, many issues with, also their data, I think, got leaked, right?
Yeah,
I remember correctly.
Thing, yeah,
they introduced the service with the
hardware is still never been like compromised as far as I know.
I think there were some compromises. Really? They patched them quickly, but in order to do a compromise, you have to be extremely skilled technician who knows what he's doing in order to do it. So my point is that first you have to steal the device. Secondly, you have to get it to the right person, right? So only very high value targets were able to get their Bitcoin stolen. And I don't know if there was a high case or whatever, but I think through the years there were some demos where they were showing that there was a way, but they got quickly patched. At the current state, I don't think that there is one. The other things, no, I was gonna say they introduced the update where they're like, we're gonna shard your keys and you're gonna send it to third party that you trust and so on. Sure, listen, there is a market for all sorts of service, do it. But allow me to choose a fork of the software. Do I want this piece of software at all? Or maybe I don't want it. I don't want any function, any software, any code, any string on my ledger that allows to send the private key away in any shape, way, or form. So they did not do it the right way. Like let's say you want to push a new service, don't push it down my throat. Right. Offer it to me. Maybe I take it, maybe I don't. If I'm not gonna pay for it anyway, you're not gonna get me as a customer. They lost so much of their branding doing it the wrong way. Which means that they have some disconnect with the Bitcoin community and the whole sovereign individual thing, apparently. That's a different topic.
Right.
So my point is that yes, I wanted to say the word ledger and the brand ledger just because, again, that's the reality. I have an 8-year device that still works. But yes, I also wanted to be clear that they had a lot of miscommunication, a lot of maybe some services that they shouldn't have released or they should have released in a different way. And the new device, for instance, with the larger screen, also there was a bunch of issues with it and so on. It's a different topic. So on the topic of new people feeling that they got left behind, they missed the train and so on. I went through all the cycles, all the risks that people have to take, how putting 10,000 Bitcoin for $10,000 for 10,000 Bitcoin back in 2011 was a stupid thing to do. That's the reality. Like, I wouldn't do it. Like, that's unless you are extremely rich and that's just a very small percent of your net worth, then do it. Like, if 10K for you is like literally your expenses a day, like it doesn't matter. Just do it. It's like poker money or, casino money. Like, you don't care. But if these were all your savings, for you to put it in Bitcoin at the time, it was crazy, dog. Like, bravo to whoever did it, but it's insanity. 2013, a bit better idea. 2018, it's a reasonable thing to do. It's a high risk, high reward type of bet. 2022, 2023, when the bottom of the bear market is November, December, January, to me it was a smart decision. That was the first time to go all in at the bottom of the bear market. I was like, this makes sense to me. Like, it's really depending, of course, on what type of net worth are you. Because if you have net worth, let's say, 100 million, maybe going all in on Bitcoin, even, at that time was not the best decision. But going half your net worth in, maybe it was not that bad of an idea. But if you're a low net worth individual, let's say less than 10,000, less than 50,000, even less than 100,000 in savings in assets, maybe it was not a bad idea to liquidate majority of them, put it into Bitcoin. To me, through my perspective, I guess, of course, again, it's easy to speak after the fact. Right. It's easy to speak once Bitcoin is 100,000. But the thing is, I've walked the walk. At 15K, I did not sold. I did not panic. I was not like, oh man, I'm done with Bitcoin. Like, no, I was publicly defending Bitcoin. And I didn't curse so far, but I'm gonna say it, I ate a lot of shit for it.
I bet you did.
So many attacks, so many, because I expected 100K in 2021, so many people were having the piss at me because I was like, what happened to 100K? Like, did you mean 10K? Like, what happened? And so on. So my point is that at 15K, I did not panic. I put you on the emergency fund because I was like, it just feels like it. Feels like a proper bear market. So many liquidations. And think about it, if Bitcoin does minus 85% top to bottom anyway, having in mind that so many companies have went bankrupt, to do just 85% drawdown, it was even less, 82% or whatever it was, I'm like, Bitcoin is showing insane resilience. So it's like, that's it, just makes sense. It's a good financial sense. So for newcomers, for younger people who are, let's say, 20 years old at the moment, and they're like, dude, I'm starting my first job and already missed the chain. Like, no, you don't get it. You're the lucky one. I did not get lucky buying Bitcoin in 2017. I was crazy to do it. I took so much risk, right? I paid the miner his electricity in order to support the Bitcoin network so it doesn't get 51% attacked, because it was going to be the end of Bitcoin, quite possibly. I did not sell Bitcoin at 50K, at 60K in 2021 in order to cash out and then, buy the one or the whatever and so on. I hodled the whole way. And I did it because I believe that this thing indeed, firstly, deserves my support. And secondly, if I'm right, like 100K is just like the sign for entering the new zone. That's it. But it's not the end goal. It's not the end of the road. The end of the road is global reserve currency. The end of the road is the money for everyone. The end goal is at least maybe 30% of all the value on planet Earth. And the thing is that the value of planet Earth is gonna only increase, right, thanks to, asteroid minings, human ingenuity, robotics. Today, me and you live so much better than the kings 500 years ago, right? That's for a reason. And this is not gonna stop most probably unless we kill each other with the Third World War, but that's a different topic. So the people who would buy Bitcoin at 100K, they get a free gift. They didn't pay for it. They didn't lose sleep over it. They didn't age faster because of all the stress, right? They're just being given Bitcoin at 100K with the ETFs approved, with all the institutions behind it, with the Bitcoin reserve, with the legal tender of El Salvador, with all the conferences around the world that I've attended, so many of them, in order to support it. Like, I didn't go there to be like, do you know what? I'm gonna go there, I'm gonna learn so much about Bitcoin. Like, no. I went there to support the event. I went there to be part of the vibe, because when many Bitcoiners go and you chat with other Bitcoins there, you tell your stories and so on, this builds the community up. So the people did not miss the chain. We built the chain and they're getting on it.
If you're building on Bitcoin or just trying to stay focused in a noisy world, you need energy, not another crash from coffee or sugary drinks. That's why in 2023, I founded EARTHY. EARTHY is a natural energy beverage. It tastes like hot chocolate, comes in a powder. You can do 1 scoop, 2 scoops before the gym, before you work. This product is made to give you long-lasting, clean, sustained energy. So if you're ready to level up your energy, cognition, your focus, you gotta try some EARTHY energy. The link is down below. Now let's get back to the show.
My first article that I wrote about Bitcoin, I was becoming fully orange-pilled over time, and I wanted to speak about Bitcoin, but I felt like, what am I gonna say? Like, how am I gonna add value to this network? And I found myself writing a simple article for my family and friends, just 7 reasons why you're not too late to Bitcoin. And there's a bunch of them. Unit bias is one of them. The idea that we get wrapped into, 100K is going to be the end, or 10K. People felt like they were late at all these different multiples of 10, right? And they're just arbitrary numbers. But one of the things that you said, which I also hit on, is that now is the best time ever to buy Bitcoin, for the exact same reason you said. There's less risk and more certainty about where Bitcoin is going. I want to hear what you have to say about this, because one thing that I've been stressing, especially during a bull market, there's so much noise. It's very hard to stay grounded, right? Stay humble, stack sats. There's all these things that people say, OGs, and another thing that I learned early on. I'm just going to jump around because there's so much that you just put in my head. But the early OGs, I met a guy, he was the administrator for the Silk Road. His name's Curtis Green. He came and gave a talk to a group of 15 or 16 of us in El Salvador last November. And he said, look, in the early days, it was a race to sell. So Bitcoin, as soon as you got it, it was, how do I get out of it, basically? Very few people, to your point, actually understood what they held. It was a medium of exchange before people thought of it as a store of value. That's why the Silk Road was so instrumental in actually Bitcoin growing, because people weren't using Bitcoin to store their value. They were using Bitcoin to buy things on the internet that you couldn't use cash for. So there's a big thing about, store of value, then medium of exchange, then unit of account. It's actually more convoluted than that. And just the fact of the matter is that Bitcoin was a medium of exchange first. And that was in the white paper, as you know, peer-to-peer electronic cash. That's the goal. It wasn't digital gold for people to, just basically watch a number on a screen go up and sit back and just get rich over time. So you make some really great points. And the other thing I think is that the hardest days for Bitcoin are ahead. And I want to hear what you have to say about this, because you said we've won. And Marty Bent, he's someone I look up to and many others do, but he said we're going to win, right? I believe that we can find ourselves becoming complacent. And this is one of the reasons I'm here in Bulgaria making this film, because I came to a conclusion that I wanted to allocate my time and energy to building. And if, again, I'm in the same boat as you. People ask me, like my girlfriend will ask me, like, you really think that these people that have more power and more money than everyone else, the people that control the money printer, are just gonna sit back and give up and hand over the keys to control the world, or not control the world, but they're just gonna give up that power easily? I don't think they will, but I'm willing to, which side are you gonna be on, right? And for me, it's such an obvious decision. Everyone has to make that decision themselves. So I guess the question is, what are the biggest threats to Bitcoin today?
It's complex, and it's uncertain. And I don't think that we know right now. The same thing with Satoshi Nakamoto, like he created something. He definitely, she, they, them, whatever, how many people they are, we don't know, but so I'm gonna say he. So he created something. He definitely had an idea. He was definitely protesting something. He definitely got and he created them ideas from other experiments. I'm not confident that he foresaw, let's say, the Lightning Network. I'm not sure he foresaw, let's say, ETFs. Like he talks about Bitcoin banks, and he talks about Bitcoin, other currencies backed by Bitcoin and stuff like that, which never happened actually, right? Maybe, I don't know, maybe we have some layer 2s or whatever where they woke up Bitcoin and they issue another token that is backed by that, and then you can exchange it at a certain value or something like that. Maybe. Or maybe in the future we're going to take that route sooner or later. Maybe. My point is that Satoshi Nakamoto did not, for all his wisdom and passion, I don't think that he foresaw everything that came to be for the next 15 years. And today, I really don't think that we know what the issues are going to be in the next 15 years. Like, we don't know. I have a clip from 2021 where, just briefly, I just throw it like that countries are going to be buying Bitcoin. And then one guy whoops at me in the chat, in the live chat, and I see it and I'm like, okay, I want to comment on this, because at the time I never spoke about it, but to me it was, the obvious thing, because you have so many ideas, things in your head that are they're just sitting there and you never share them, you never say them out loud, but to you they're obvious because we talked about it earlier. So, and I make this 5-6 minutes clip where I talk about how countries are gonna mine Bitcoin, they're gonna buy Bitcoin. And this is before Salvador, before Bhutan, before the Bitcoin Strategic Reserve, before, I forgot what were the other countries, but there were like 4 or 5 countries that are mining Bitcoin. Most probably, I see it makes sense to me, let's say Russia to buy Bitcoin. So countries with geothermal energy just makes more sense to mine Bitcoin with it instead of trying to export it or just letting it waste. So in that clip, I thought that the most obvious thing it is, Bitcoin is going to take over the world, and when it does, it's a not a mandatory but a logical step out of the process is for countries to have reserves in it the same way that they have reserves in Bitcoin, in gold today. It just makes sense. And countries that have energy leverage, Bulgaria does not have any energy leverage. Neither it's like, oh, sour power is our thing because we have 20 out of 24 hours sun. No, we don't have that. We don't have geothermal, we don't have hydro, neither wind, nothing. We have nothing. So we're not going to be one of those countries. That's okay though. Not everyone has to be, right? Because there is a whole industry and work and so on in order to set up the whole thing. So the countries that are going to do it are countries that are, let's say, because of climate or something else on their location on the planet, they're going to not be able, let's say, to grow their food or whatever. And they're going to exchange the energy to secure the network for the food they're going to get from us, for instance. So that is obvious to me. But when you talk about threats, let's say again, let's just go through it quickly. The quantum threat, right? Firstly, it's very important for people to know what they know and what they don't know, what they're what they're familiar enough with and what they're not. Like, I don't understand quantum computers. I'm not gonna say, oh yeah, I'm the quantum expert here. Let me tell you real quick. I listen smarter people than me, what they say, right? And when you don't understand something, sadly, it's about trust, right? So you have to trust the experts, but not blindly. So I listen to different people that have some reputation in my eyes and listen to what they say. And the other thing is that I listen just to common sense. Like, who cares about Bitcoin? If it's such a big threat, everything else that is today protected with SHA-256 or any other hashing algorithm, it's gonna get messed up, okay? So the whole internet's gonna get, I'm not gonna say the F word, but the F word and so on. So therefore, my point is that this is, I feel like much smarter people than me are gonna solve this problem. I'm not gonna be the one to do it, right? And I'm fine with that. And I'm fine with, delegating and, trusting these people that with the coming threat, they're gonna solve it. When you talk about, let's say, governments banning it, I think, so when I said earlier that Bitcoin already won, so it wasn't we won. I was like, no, Bitcoin won. Why Bitcoin won? Because it twisted the hand of PayPal. So then it's gonna twist the hand of the next company, and the next company, and the next company. It's just the domino effect. And today, well, let's say with the ETFs, the Winklevoss brothers put the first paperwork for a spot ETF in 2013. I'm 90% sure of this, 90% sure. So they did 2013. Why didn't that got accepted? Why did it took it another 8 years for it to happen? Well, BlackRock had to do it. Talking about the people who have the money, who have the power and so on. Well, BlackRock has the money and the power. And the thing is, they love Bitcoin today. Did they get in the last bear market? Do they have a lot of hidden stashes of Bitcoin? Does Larry Fink himself in his personal account has so many Bitcoin? I don't know. What I do know though, and it's a public data, is that their IBIT Bitcoin ETF is the most successful ETF in the history of the ETFs. The Bitcoin ETFs hit, I don't know, whatever the number was of assets under management faster than anything else. Especially for the BlackRock ETFs, they have, I checked it earlier, a few days ago, so I'm gonna speak out of memory here. I might say a few numbers incorrectly, but it's gonna be about that. So I think that the first ever gold ETF was 2001. The first BlackRock ETF for gold was 2003. the BlackRock Bitcoin ETF is 2024, right? So a year and a half ago, which is like yesterday. And it already manages more money than their Bitcoin, than their gold ETF, okay?
20 plus years.
Yeah. The other thing is, I'm 90% confident in this, their Bitcoin ETF makes them the most money right now, today, from all their ETFs. It's still negligible, most probably, compared to all the money they make from all the ETFs, all the fees that they get. But there was this IVV, or I think it's IVV ETF, which is the S&P 500 equivalent or something like that. So it manages 700 billion, I think it was 700 billion of value, asset under management. But it makes 183 million of fees per year, because the fee as percent is 0.03 or something like that. And the Bitcoin fee, because it's much bigger in percent, even though the asset under management was like 60 or 80 billion, something like that, it still makes them more money. So it's their most successful product today at Bitcoin at $100,000. So the way I see it, and again, this is my personal view, my speculation, my understanding of the fiat system, my understanding of how these companies operate and so on. And as I was saying in my live streams in 2020, 2021, literally was branding myself like, listen guys, I'm a software developer, I'm a software engineer. Like, I'm not a financial guy, right? I literally live renting a place. And behind me at the time, there was one of these, how is chugun in English? So chugun is that very heavy metal that the old radiator.
Like, I don't know, radiator.
Yeah. So the thing is, chugun is a material that's metal and it's very extremely heavy.
Okay.
So
Titanium.
No.
It's iron, maybe.
It has to be cheap. So it's like iron, but it's not iron.
Okay.
Extremely heavy. And the thing is that it's good material for those sort of things because it holds some of the heat and so on. So anyway, my point is the phone. So I have one of those behind me. Obviously, there is also on the ceiling air conditioning, but it's outside of the camera. And I'm like, guys, do you understand? Like, I'm hitting myself with that, even though it doesn't even work. It's fucked off. So my point is that I was branding myself with like, I don't understand anything about finance. I'm not a rich guy. I'm just a software developer who has a YouTube channel and speak about Bitcoin because I get Bitcoin on a technical level and I have my own opinion about the finances, right? So my point is, again, having this in mind, talking about BlackRock, their goals, their whatever, like I'm not in a place where I can speak with authority about that, right? Like I don't have a hedge fund myself.
And
I don't have this.
Even a financial advisor. Like,
Exactly. Yes. No, I don't have that education. But just from what I've learned throughout the years, this is how I imagined, and most probably through my eyes, most probably I'm right. So if I'm on the place of BlackRock, right? You have this Bitcoin thing. At $100,000, it makes you X amount of money. If the price is double, it's going to give you twice as much money in fees, right? The other thing is, who are the clients of BlackRock? Who bought their Bitcoin ETF? Is it the 2010 OGs? Whoever bought Bitcoin in 2010, is that Bitcoin in their ETF? Most probably not, right? So my point is that the people who pay them the fees are only people who bought from 2024 onwards, right? 10th of January, I think it was 2024. So my point is that it's in their benefit for coins to move around, and it's proven, the higher we go, the more coins get unlocked because people are like, you know what? I made some money, let's diversify a bit or let's spend a bit because most people are not gonna live forever, so let's spend today. So the higher the price of Bitcoin goes, the more fees they're gonna connect, the more old coins are gonna get sold, and the selling of these coins are gonna go in new hands. Not all of them, of course, are gonna go through the IBIT ETF, but percent of them. So they're gonna get guaranteed, statistically speaking, some new customers that are gonna hold the IBIT ETF. The asset under management is gonna go up, even if the price stays the same, just from the selling of the coins and getting new customers in, new holders. And of course, again, the price going up is beneficial to them. So the way I see it is that BlackRock has a lot of influence in US. With the new administration, with the Bitcoin reserves, of course, if the next administration is extremely anti-Bitcoin for whatever reason, they can revert all of that. But I feel like we're going behind the event horizon. What I mean by that is that once you hit certain percent of Bitcoin adoption, it's a political suicide to be anti-Bitcoin. Before, so Trump became president again 2024, at the end of 2024, 2025. Biden before that was 2020, right? So my point is that apparently, firstly, he didn't announce at the time at his campaign or whatever to be anti-Bitcoin or anything, but let's say it was still early, in terms of percent of the population of US who has Bitcoin. I believe that from 2024 until 2028, when power changes, maybe Republicans to Republicans, maybe Republicans to Democrats, like I don't care. Whoever is the next guy, I don't think he's gonna campaign on, if you choose me, I'll destroy Bitcoin. I'll ban it, I'll outlaw it. All the miners who are stabilizing the grid, we're gonna find them, we're gonna, bankrupt them. I don't think that they're gonna announce that Bitcoin strategic reserve is off the table and so on. I don't think so. I think it's too late. Even if it's not today, in the next 4 years it's gonna be. The adoption is gonna grow enough that the US will not change course on Bitcoin. This is what I speculate. It's not guaranteed, but this is the most plausible outcome, probable outcome that I see. If US does not go against Bitcoin, who's going to go against Bitcoin? I'm not kidding. Most probably the European Union. That's like not China, not Asia in general, not Africa, not South America. Holy moly.
Yeah.
Only the Europeans could be so dumb to do it. Only the corruption in the European Union could be so high that they push so hard for the CBDC. And they want to enslave their people so much that they're going to outlaw Bitcoin. I'm not saying that this is the highest probability. I'm just saying that if somewhere Bitcoin is going to get banned, it's going to be EU. And I'm not saying that it's the highest possibility chance to happen. I'm just saying from everywhere that's the place that I see. And China I'm not going to comment on because it's a lot more complex there. We don't know exactly what's happening. We don't know if the government properly actually holds Bitcoin. We don't know if what they are thinking behind closed doors about the future of Bitcoin and so on. So we just don't know. But they're not the world. And I see from the developed world and from the developing world, I think the Bitcoin adoption is going to continue growing. So a threat about Bitcoin being outlawed, so a political threat, a regulatory threat, I don't see. In terms of regulatory threat, it's not a threat, it's an inconvenience. So they cannot ban point-to-point transactions. They just can't. What they are doing, not what they can do, what they are doing right now in European Union is they're putting insane amount of restrictions. Right now, if you wanna transfer even over 1,000 euros, and 1,000 euros is nothing. Like a hotel in Paris, like $300. So that's 3 nights in Paris. Are you kidding me? What is this? This is not like buying a new flat. This is not 100 or 200 or 300,000 euros. For just 1,000 euros, they're putting a limit where you must sign that this is your wallet, this you control this address, or since depending on the exchange, they have different rules and different adoption of the MiCA regulation, but somewhere they're already asking, like, if you're not saying that you're sending to your address, to who are you sending the Bitcoin? Where is his address? What is his 3 names and so on? Like, I'm not gonna ask, like, that's insanity. That's a stupid regulation. So this is why I'm saying the only place where I see a proper threat of Bitcoin being banned is European Union. Obviously, it's going to be a mistake. Obviously, it's going to be devastating. Obviously, it's going to put European Union behind the same way that they're behind on rockets, on AI, and on pretty much everything that matters. So about threats, technical, quantum computers or whatever, I cannot speak of. Bugs, I really think they don't exist. Miners, mining templates, the rise of ocean, I think we'll be all right there. It's not guaranteed, and obviously there has to be some pushback. Getting the blockchain filled up with unnecessary or non-financial data. I think I hold there an unpopular opinion.
Let's hear it.
So I'm gonna share it. So I understand that we want Bitcoin to be only for monetary transactions. But the reality is that from the very first transaction, Satoshi Nakamoto already broke that rule. He put there a message that is not a monetary transaction. He wasted space on the first ever block, right? It's not just this address sends to this address X amount. No, he put a message there. So I'm sorry, Satoshi Nakamoto already did it. So then the question is, should there be only monetary transactions? Should there be restrictions? Should we just change a bit the protocol, do some limits, whatever? There's different opinions, and at the moment we don't have consensus on that. The way I view Bitcoin's blockchain and the way I explain it is because Bitcoin is so many things, and it's hard to a newcomer to explain Bitcoin's importance and how it works and so on. So this the first thing that I started in 2023 or 2024. My method was like to go through that. In one word, Bitcoin is a protocol, and then comes the question: what the hell is a protocol? Because again, it's a word that you don't very frequently use in day-to-day life. So then I explained that the protocol is just a set of rules. So I'm like, let's say we play chess. Well, that's a protocol because it has a very specific set of rules. Those are the rules of chess. You can move the pawn forward or diagonally if it takes another thing. You can use the officer like this. You can move the knight like 2 forward, 1 to the right, 3 forward, 1 to the right, and so on. So these are the rules, period. If you don't follow the rules, you're not playing chess. You're playing kids chess or something else, right? That's okay, play your game. But if you want to play the Bitcoin protocol, the Bitcoin game, those are the rules. In order to send sats, you must have received sats. You cannot send sats that you've never received. Anyone can mine, anyone can hash. If you successfully guess the next block, you are entitled to the right to choose what transactions to go in. And you are entitled to the right to choose no transactions to go in. That's the reality. And this is how 51% attacks work, if you want to do a 51% attack. So then the next thing I say is that why is Bitcoin such a bad thing that people are saying that it should be banned, or why is it such a tool that could be weaponized or could be a danger? And I'm like, let's say the knife, should we ban the knife? Because the knife could be used as a weapon, as a lethal weapon. But we're not banning knives, and we're using every day the knife as a useful tool to our lives. And I'm like, it's the same thing with Bitcoin. It's just a tool. And the question is like, what tool is it? And I'm like, it's just a database, dude. It's just an Excel spreadsheet. That's all it is. It's a spreadsheet of transactions. This address sends to this address, this amount signs the transactions, the next one, the next one, the next one, and then you get a new sheet, and then a new sheet, and then a new sheet, and then a new sheet. That's all it is. So why should you ban a cryptographically secured and checked spreadsheet? That's all it is. And then I go a bit into corruption and so on. I'm like, do you know who doesn't like uncorruptible data? The people who love to corrupt. That's who. Like if you have nothing to hide, really, actually, if you have nothing to hide, put it on the blockchain. It's going to be there forever, right? So the Bitcoin transactions are public. Everyone can read them. Everyone can validate them. And they're going to be there forever. So what's my train of thought?
That's all right. I'm curious.
No, just a second, because I was leading somewhere with the whole thing.
Yeah, well, I was just going to add really quick, like on this, are the rules changing by the data size, the data carrier limit?
The data, what should be written? What should be written? So what should be written in the Bitcoin blockchain? In my opinion, is the most secure and valuable database in the world. So the same way that people for ages say that if you're afraid that the taxes of the Bitcoin blockchain, the fees are going to go too high that you won't be able to make a transaction there, then my question to counter a question to that is like, who told you that you purchasing a loaf of bread from the store, this information is worthy to be forever written on the Bitcoin blockchain and spread to thousands of computers all over the world? Forever. Right? Who told you that? Like, if you think, oh, but I deserve it, like this is socialism, right? You're like, oh, I'm entitled to it, I deserve it. Like, no, you don't. You have to pay for it, right? And in my opinion, yes, I agree, financial data is extremely important, but maybe other data is also extremely valuable. If you want to cut this out, but just because it's now thematical, apparently, Epstein was extremely stupid because he killed himself without doing anything wrong, right? Because there is no client list, right? They looked through all the data and they're like, no, dude, there is no records, there is no clients, we're not gonna chase anyone, we're just like shutting down this case, like it's done, it's over. So Epstein was very stupid. And the other thing is like his partner, right? Maxwell, like, why is she in prison?
Yeah, she didn't do anything
like,
wrong.
You know, like, set Maxwell free, you know? Yeah. Like, we should make a movement and a petition. Release Maxwell right now. Like, what is this? You know? So my point is, to anyone that says it should be only financial data, I hear you. And I see your point, and it makes sense, and let's not put unnecessary data, because who is to decide what is unnecessary? Like, let's say I want to write a message, I love my girlfriend there, right?
I was just thinking that, like, what if somebody, I'm sure this has been done, but what if someone asked their girlfriend to marry them on the blockchain? That could easily be valued, you know?
Of course. And I think but how valuable is it, right? Let's say to someone else who doesn't know this guy and his girlfriend, it's not valuable. But he paid the fee.
Yeah.
That's the thing. The market has decided how valuable that is. It's not your opinion. You're not, like the boss of Bitcoin. You're not going to decide, right? The market of the fees is going to decide. So in post, like right now, apparently, we don't have out of competition for writing things on the blockchain. So let's say someone uploads the F10 list there. How valuable is that, right? A lot of people are gonna agree, oh my God, that's so valuable, right? That's so valuable. The question is, where else can you write that? I'm gonna post it on Facebook. What's gonna happen? Police is gonna come, they're gonna arrest me, they're gonna delete it and so on, right? Okay. I post it, I don't know, on my blog. It's gonna get shut down. Let's say I post it on Twitter. Most probably it's gonna get removed from there as well, right? So my point is that, let's say we have Nostr, and Nostr is a different topic, but let's not go there. So my point is that I personally trust the Bitcoin blockchain the most from all the databases. I trust that if you have something written there and 5 blocks have passed, it's over. It's gonna be there forever.
Right.
So the data itself, if it's valuable or no, it's a very subjective thing, and one person is gonna say it's valuable, another no. I'm absolutely fine, and I think it's a good idea that the fees market should decide what's more valuable. Is it F10 list, or is it that I paid on the local store to purchase 1 loaf of bread? What's more valuable? Well, to me, I want to purchase the loaf of bread, so that's the more valuable thing. Like, I don't want that list. Like, I've never heard of this guy, right? So me, I'm like, no, let my transaction in. But let's say to a lot of other people, it's going to be the other thing. So the fees market's going to decide, and I'm fine with that. So this is why I'm saying it's an unpopular opinion, because I know that a lot of Bitcoiners say like, no, it should be only for monetary Bitcoin transactions. I get it. I do get it. But I think that Bitcoin could be much more, and it is already. It's the most secure database in the world. So I think that the world is going to lose value and not gain value if we lose that. If you lose the ability with paying the fee to be able to write arbitrary other data that might be extremely valuable today and especially in the future.
I really appreciate that perspective because we hear my inclination is to take the side of Bitcoin is money, right? And it's like a hill I'm not the hill about the knots versus core and operator and stuff, but I really do believe that we should use Bitcoin as money. That's why not just holding, but actually spending is very important. It's a topic I want to ask you about. But let me look here really fast. But and we'll move past this topic because I think you exhausted it in a really nice way. And actually, I've got to digest a little bit of what you just said. But yeah, are you going to, ultimately what I'm taking away from what you're saying is, are you going to value the rules, or are you going to value your personal views on what it should be for others more? And I think I actually do side with you and a little bit more on the side of I value the rules and the fact that this is an incorruptible database more than what my personal beliefs of what people should or shouldn't, like who am I to say that somebody shouldn't just go to the strip club down the road and spend all their money on a hooker? If you want to do that, like I'm not going to stop you, right?
Because I think that if we cannot write additional data, let's say from the day one you couldn't write additional data, I think that people could have thought of very clever ways, let's say to use the first letter or the 5th letter or the 30th letter of an address, and then send random transactions to different addresses, right, that matches the correct letter in order to type something out. So my point is that if you want to write in the Bitcoin blockchain, because it's made out of letters, you could write anyway. And you can do it in an extremely inefficient way and still pay the taxes, and it's going to be all monetary transactions and so on, right? And you're going to do it again. Why would you do that? You do it because you actually think that there is something extremely valuable and you trust the Bitcoin blockchain the most for that information, and you must let the world know about it. So you're going to make, let's say, I don't know, like 300 transactions, spelling one letter each, but let's say from one address sending to 300 different addresses, and just using the first letter, not the first letter, but anyway, the fifth letter or whatever, right? You're gonna spell something out. So you cannot stop that anyway, I think. You might be unhappy that the person did that because he did it just to spell something, but if he's willing to pay the fee, and he does pay it, he paid the bill, right? He walked the walk.
He's supporting the miners.
He's paying the electricity, yeah. So maybe he has the right to do that.
Fascinating. Okay, new line of questioning that I really want to get into. Most people, when they reach success in anything, they want to get as much juice out of that as possible, right? And you've achieved a level of success with your content, and yet you're also stepping back a little bit. You're stepping back from the conference. Obviously, you're still making content and still contributing in different ways. And so I'm curious of why are you stepping back, and what's this new transition going to look like for you?
Past 2 weeks or something, so 2 weeks ago and then like a few days ago, I walked in my email of my website, and I haven't walked in for a while, and there was like 100 and something emails. Out of these 100 and something emails, over 80 were invites to scam people. We noticed your channel, you know, do you want a partner for this, for that, this shitcoin, that shitcoin, a new exchange that offers something brilliant and so on. There is so many stuff because you said like get the juice out, like it sounds to me like make some money out.
Make some more money, right? Yeah.
So let's start with that. So there is insane amount of offers of how to scam people. Even on my, so this is on my email, and then on Twitter, I go to the message requests, and you know, you constantly get bombarded with some message requests and the scams and so on. And you know, I got used to it and I'm not paying any attention, but I spoke with someone who, you know, like is new to Bitcoin, and I screenshotted my message requests because I was like, have this in mind, you know, like I have the morals not even to open the message. Or let's say I clicked it just so it's removed the number, you know, how many unread messages I have, but I'm never responding and I'm never taking any deals and so on, but I have the morals to do it. A lot of other people don't. And they're like, for one or another reason, because I remember actually, it just now popped in my head, one colleague in London put it quite differently about the scams or stealing or whatever, meaning doing a crime in order to benefit yourself financially. Obviously, there is professional people who, you know, they're just thieves, or there is people who just, you know, walk the moral ground or whatever. But some people do it out of necessity. They're like, literally, I'm gonna be hungry tonight, or I'll be a thief. And they're like, I'm gonna thief. I'm sorry. So he said, we're in the privileged position where we don't need to do immoral things, right? Because sometimes you're a moral person in a position where that's your only choice, right? So let's say there might be some people like that, maybe there's some people like that, and this is why they take the offer, sure. I've never taken any of these deals. I never supported, marketed a product that I don't believe in. Because we mentioned already Ledger, I'm just gonna say Ledger. I have a referral link. I've mentioned Ledger multiple times, but I'm a Ledger user. I have a bunch of other devices. I've moved them over the camera, yeah, but I have like 3, 4, 5 different, including open source hardware wallets. I do multi-signatures with them, meaning, let's say, because I don't want to trust Ledger, maybe they can get my key, like, I don't know, anymore, especially. So then I'm like, if I make a multi-signature though, they can get one of the keys, but they cannot get the second or the third key from the other. Like, you have to all collude together and mix and match and so on in order to get all the keys or whatever. Okay. So all the products that I marketed at any point is products that I personally use and I'm happy with. I'm gonna not put myself in the bright slide here, but I'm gonna say it anyway. Like, I did have a referral link for FTX. Why I'm sharing that? Why I did it? So obviously it was a mistake because, you know, they went bankrupt and apparently they did lie. They used the funds of the customers and so on. At the time, obviously that's not obvious to me. If it was, I was not gonna do it. Why did they do it though? Because they had a free, I think it was once a day withdrawal. So next to each exchange that I recommended, I was putting why am I recommending them, right? So I'm not gonna say the other name, so I don't do advertisement, but let's say one that I used from 2017, one that I used from 2018, I was saying why I use this one, let's say I trust them the most. And let's say they have a banking license in US or whatever, the only exchange. Let's say this one because, I don't know, it's a publicly traded company or whatever, right? And then FTX. And next to FTX, I literally put that. If you do dollar cost average, and do it with a small amount of money where the Bitcoin transaction fee matters to you, and also how many UTXOs you're gonna create because your fee to spend them after that gets higher, maybe it's not a bad idea to use FTX because once a day, I think it was, you can get a free transaction out of them. So let's say once a month you deposit $100, you put a DCA every single day, at the end of the month or at the end of the week, you withdraw. And it was a good deal. Of course, I always say not your coins, not your keys, not your coins, and all the things about how important it is to hold your keys and be a sovereign individual. But that aside, so I'm not squeezing out the juice because I honestly just think I don't need to. I think that it comes up to that. I don't need to. I'm not sure what's the correct word in English and even in Bulgarian. Like, I'm gonna use the word privilege, but that's not the word. Let's say I'm in privileged position. Why? So I come from a small town in Bulgaria. I moved to the large town nearby. I started working. Then I moved to the capital for job opportunities. Then from the capital I moved to London. And until London, I lived paycheck to paycheck. And I always took risks to change the job. I always worked overtime. I always studied new technology in order to be able to progress career-wise. Then I moved to London, and for the first time in my life, I started having savings. For the first time in my life. Because salaries there are actually so much more, used to be, than your expenses, than your rent, than your bills, than your crazy prices of the commute and so on. I was still having a lot of money left. By a lot of money, let's say 30% of your salary. But that was unknown to me. 30% being able to save when you lived paycheck to paycheck for, let's say, 7-8 years before that. So I made some money. I saved it. I put it into Bitcoin. It went up. It went down. Then it went up again. I was heavily in profit. Then went down again. I was not in profit. And then it went up again today, and I'm, in profit. So we talked earlier about early Bitcoiners and how they got lucky buying early. We discussed how that's not the case. But something that we never talked about is that the hodl mentality. And by hodl mentality, I mean it's not just believing in Bitcoin, oh, one day it's going to be worth millions of dollars. No. It's about you're already in profit and you can spend it right now. Right now I have the choice. Bitcoin is at $117,000, dude. That's a lot of money for a Bitcoin. Right now, I'll tell you right now, I can sell a Bitcoin and I'll buy myself a very good car. Like right now, I'm driving a 2005 Ford Focus. So that's a 20-year-old car. I bought it for 3,000 euros. So that's like less than $4,000. I am driving it now for like 2 years. So I used to have a Mustang. So I'll buy a new Mustang, one of the new ones. Jeez, they're very good cars. So beautiful. I'll buy that. What else I would do? I don't know. If I had more Bitcoin, because I don't, I have 0.1. So if I had more Bitcoin, I would just travel, right? I would just get my girlfriend, go traveling. Or get 2 girlfriends, go traveling, get 3 girlfriends, right? There's so many ways to spend your money if you want to. So hodling is not just about believing in Bitcoin, but having the discipline, having the mentality of not spending what you already have. Recently I saw this post where it was like, if a guy has 3 flats and he's to the neck in debt and losing his job for like 2 months could spiral out of control and him losing the flats and so on, But still people were like, bravo, you have 3 flats, good for you, man. And if you say that you have debt-free, 1 Bitcoin or 3 Bitcoin, whatever, they're like, dude, sell right now. That's so risky, and so on. So people celebrate leverage, debt, being part of the matrix, part of the system. They don't at all celebrate and value being sovereign, being debt-free, being free. And what I mean by free is the freedom that maybe I don't want to go to work. After I quit my job, maybe I want 2-3 months of a gap. Maybe I just want to relax for a bit. Maybe I want to travel for a bit, right? And if you're up to the neck in debt, you cannot do that. That's not freedom. That's a responsibility. That's you being tied up to the system. You have to continue the grind. Otherwise, everything's gonna fall apart, everything that you've built. So I'm in the privileged position where from 18 years old until 32, I worked hard. I really worked hard. Like right now we're speaking in English, this is not my mother's tongue. I'm okay with English. It's not perfect, but it's quite all right. Mm-hmm. And my point is like, this took effort. It took a lot of effort, right? You know, I started studying because I was living in a small town. We did not study English, we studied Russian language. So this was my first second language. So I started studying English when I was 15 years old, right? And I had to take extra classes and so on in order to be able to catch up with the other kids from the larger city. And my point is that I worked so much over time. I worked so much to just study new technologies and so on. And at the end, today I have the savings to feel secure, to feel like I don't need income per se. Of course, I would love to have income. I would love people to give me money, send me money. Yes. Bitcoin preferable, just send me. Yes, I would accept it. I'm not going to say no. But here is the difference. The people who live paycheck to paycheck, and I remember very well what it feels like, you have to do it. You have to go. You have to agree with your boss. You have to keep quiet. You have to do this. You have to do that. You have to like wake up. You don't feel like going to work today. Sorry, you have to. That's the reality. So you are living in these chains of the society has built, the system has built, and you're in them. You're born into them. This is how it's done. If you speak about this is crazy, no. You're crazy in society's eyes. You cannot speak about this is not how it's meant to be. Like, what are we doing? You cannot do that. So I'm in the privileged position, but privilege that I created. It was not given to me. Like, I'm not gonna get any inheritance from my parents, literally. I have a brother. Everything that my parents have built is gonna go for my brother. I've made a decision. You know, I'm like, he would make better use of it. He needs it more than I do. So I'm like, everything's gonna go for him. I don't need anything. I'm gonna build whatever I'm gonna leave for my kids and so on. So I'm in this position where I'm like, I'm not pushed into the corner where I have to go to work every single day. I have to, make more money for my boss. Then he has to make more money than me. Then he pays me and so on in order for everything to work and so on. I'm like, I do what I want to do. Like when I do my streams, I get like, let's say, I don't know, like 10 euro of tips, right? Which pays for the lights, let's say. That's about it. I get extra support. A lot of this extra support from different platforms have went into the conferences, because with the conference in Bulgaria was extremely hard. Again, I think with years, the coming years, it's gonna get easier and easier. But in the past, it was extremely hard to get any sponsor, because Bulgaria is a small market. And because of the way that regulations and everything works, you have to open, let's say, a company inside EU or inside Bulgaria specifically. You have to follow the local rules, and there are differences in the rules. And this costs money and costs effort. And then for what? For 6 million people, right? That's it. And it's not like 6 million people like Luxembourg, which is like, let's say, one of the richest countries per capita in the world. Like, no, it's Bulgaria. So my point is like, what's the point to do it? So I go to a conferences around the world, and I'm like going to the booths, and speaking with them. Like, hi, I'm organizing a conference in Bulgaria. Like, would you like to come? It's like, what am I gonna do there? And I'm like, I don't know. Like, what are you doing here? You're gonna promote your, your business, your product. And he's like, but we don't operate there. And I'm like, what do you mean? It's like, well, yeah, we just don't operate in Bulgaria because of regulation purposes. Like, it's not worth the effort. It's like too small of a market. We do it in Germany, we do it in Italy, let's say in Europe, right? We do it in US, obviously, but not in Bulgaria. So how am I supposed to get a sponsor, right? So literally the sponsor, the main sponsor for the conference, the person who pays the bill is, majority of the time, the community. So the community donates money to me and I spend this money on, like building the stuff that I want us to build. And I'm gonna mention, we had only one sponsor who actually takes money off of their business to support the Bulgarian conference. It's a business called Bonix. That's a Bulgarian exchange. I'm mentioning them even though in the past, let's say 1 year, 6 months, there was a lot of pushback against them because X amount of customers, I don't have access to the data, so I cannot put exact percents and so on, but through my head, I would imagine they have thousands or tens of thousands of customers in Bulgaria. And if you have, let's say 20, 30, 50 unhappy customers, percentage-wise, that's a very small amount. So there was some pushback against them because of some unhappy customers, but from my point of view, it must be a very small percentile, so I think it's about a normal thing. And all of this started after the MiCA regulation, the European Union pushing the MiCA regulation in Europe. So they're the only company, proper business in Bulgaria who have supported the conferences. That's it, one sponsor. Because all the other ones, all the international ones, they're like, we don't operate there. It's pointless for us to spend money on any resources, send people there and so on in order to promote our business because it doesn't make any sense. So going back into why am I not squeezing more? I'm not squeezing more because I don't need to, because a lot of the ways to squeeze more is immoral. I'm not squeezing, the other thing is I'm not squeezing even with the much easier ways. Let's say a lot of the people have written a book. I started writing a book and it was done and I never published it. Do you know why? Because I was like, if I publish it, by the time I write it, we were in the bear market, was bear market, 2023. So I've written it in 2021, 2022. 2022 at the end, like we were at 15K. I'm like, what's the point to release it now? Who's gonna read it, right? Because pointless, the Bitcoin is too low. It was a mistake, I should have released it then. Then it went up and I'm like, what's the point to release it now, right? Because like, and I think to me it has more value not releasing the book than being like a cash grab. I don't want to do a cash grab thing. The thing is, I started rewriting the book in a different way because it was like, so it was two titles and then I combined them. So one was Myths and Legends about Bitcoin, just going through the standard critiques of Bitcoin, how too much energy or this or that and so on. And the other one was like, I don't know how to translate it in English, but that it's not about the price, it's about the value, right? So let's not talk about the price, let's talk about the value. How can Bitcoin be useful to you, regardless what price it is, right? Let's say we walk the price, that's it, you cannot speculate with it, you cannot make money off of it, but you can use it. So what can you use Bitcoin? What does it give you, right? What can you use the Bitcoin network for? And then I combine the two into one, where I first defend Bitcoin and then I explain why, aside the FUD, how can it be useful to you? And the things I never released it again. First I felt like, what's the point in the bear market? Then I was like, what's the point in the bull market? But so I started writing in a different way, where it's like a father-son bonding book. So the working title is Before Bitcoin, and it's written in a way that, let's say, it's 2050. And it's a story of the father to his son. What was it before Bitcoin? So it's also written in a speculative way, like how do I imagine 2050 to be if we're on a Bitcoin standard? And where they speak about, normal Bitcoin stuff. And they're like, the kid's like, yeah, I'm born into this, so this is all I know. And then he's like, what? Your salaries used to go up every year? Like, wow, can you imagine if my salary in Bitcoin goes up every year? That would be crazy. But let's say, what, real estate was going up every year? Why? Isn't like you build it and it starts getting worse and worse every year? Like, doesn't make any sense. Pop, are you like serious? So in a story like that, where it's like a day in the life of this family that's living on a Bitcoin standard, and the kid has never, he's only heard of fiat, and of the dollar and of the euro and so on. And the father explains like crazy stories of back in my days, what it used to be. So the idea is that the value that I see in this, and I wouldn't feel like a cash grab if I do that, is that I don't think that a book like this exists. I think it's gonna be a more bonding experience because it's a children's book written for grown-ups, where the grown-up can, the parent can read it to his child or the child can read it directly, and it's a bit of mixture of how is it called? Made-up literature and proper Bitcoin
fiction, non-fiction.
Exactly. Yeah. Not just fiction, but let's say storytelling.
Yeah.
The signals, the signals for when to buy and when to sell. Like I can do that. A lot of people would subscribe to my signals, right? I'm gonna be like. I have this, I don't know, like a trading bot, or I have, I'm very good at the charts or whatever. Even though, I mean, it's kind of too late because I already told people, like, the moment they do that, unsubscribe, please. Like, if I do that, just unsubscribe. I thought myself, so don't do it. So, let's say I can do that. Let's say the mentoring programs. Oh my God, let me mentor you. There's so many ways. The way I see it is that you take advantage of people who do not feel that they're capable, that they are, I don't know what's the English word for opraven, meaning opraven means a person who believes in himself, who is resourceful, and who is like, I don't know how to do it, but I'll find a way, right? I'll educate myself and so on. So this is opraven in Bulgarian. So there is so many people that are just taking advantage of people who don't believe in themselves. And instead of helping them a bit, nudging them, pointing them in the right direction, they're like, yeah, sure, just subscribe to my mentoring program or whatever, and I'll help you. Like, that's not the way. Like, I don't know, maybe something in me, that's not the way to do that. I don't know what it is. This is how I feel. Like, let's say advertising and marketing. Like in advertising and marketing, there is a lot of scammy deals, right? Scammy ways to trick the customer. So this is why I never want to work in that field, because I feel like I know what we are doing. I know why we are doing it. I think it's immoral. So it's the same thing with majority of the ways to make money off it. I could properly do, let's say, proper courses. So I do have one course on Udemy, and the course is paid. It's like 15 euros or whatever. It's paid because I did not want to do it. It was work. People really asked for it. And I'm like, I don't want to deal with that. But they really asked for it. And okay, I made a course in Udemy. So what the course is about is like how to use open software like Electrum in order to and on Ledger. So on Ledger, how to put the 25th word, for instance, for the passkey, how to set up the Ledger, then how to connect it to Electrum and never use the Ledger application. So you use the Ledger Live. So you use the Ledger device, but you never connect it, never install the Ledger Live application on your computer. You use Electrum, which is an open source software, which you can trust a lot more to do the transactions for you. So the device is only signing cryptographically the transaction, but you get broadcasted through the Electrum node or through your own node because there is a configuration where you can connect your node. So this is the only paid content that I have where it's like a course, but it's like a 3 years old course, and literally it's actually good. It's actually good, but it's not like, it's not like and it's one thing, that's it. Like I'm not, let's make the next one and whatever. And usually, so I've seen some other people, they branch out. What did they branch out? They branched into, now I'm a real estate guru, now I'm a general finance guru, now I'm a this, now I'm a that. And they like, you get some audience and start making money off of it, So I understand it. I'm like, if I really needed the money, maybe I would do it. Maybe, because it's easy to say when you don't need the money, I'll never do it. So I don't want to say I'll never have done it because maybe I would have, I don't know. But I don't, anything that's immoral or I see any morality into it, I just stay away from it. So this is why I don't want to squeeze in. And why am I like moving away from it? I heard you earlier about we are gonna win, not that we have won. But the thing is, when I started, Bitcoin was at $10,000. Then Bitcoin went to $15,000 after 69K top. So my point is that my work at the time, I felt like it makes a difference for Bitcoin as a whole. Because it's not like I'm gonna change the world, but if they're my version in the neighboring country of Serbia, in the neighboring country of Greece, in the neighboring country of Turkey, we don't know each other, but we know that we exist, right? And if all of us put our part of the deal, put our, orange peeling our countries, at the end, this global movement is gonna move Bitcoin, right? But the thing is, the way I see it, the way I feel is like, it's over. Like the plebs orange pilling, it's done. This is how I see it. I understand that some people might not agree, but this is how I view the world. This is how I see it. It's over for retail. Bitcoin is 100K. Like no one's gonna sell his flat in Bulgaria to buy one Bitcoin. It's done. Newbie, right? Mm-hmm. Unless you have 50 flats, then you might sell 2 to buy 2 Bitcoin. But otherwise it's done. The normie cannot buy one whole Bitcoin. And that's fine. That's not the point. It's not about buying one Bitcoin. Who told you that you deserve one Bitcoin, right? For people who will and touted for a lot of things, I always like to say, like, who told you deserve one Bitcoin? Like the best example is like how many millionaires are there in the world? Let's say 60 million millionaires. How many Bitcoins are there in the world? 21 million. So you think that you deserve one Bitcoin when it's more rare than being a millionaire in the world. Like unless you're a millionaire right now, most probably you don't deserve one Bitcoin, right? So I feel like retail is done. I'm sorry, this is how I feel. Retail is done. The adoption is going to continue. Retail is going to continue to get educated. Retail is going to continue stacking. It's going to be portions of Bitcoin. That's fine and so on. But I feel like the big impact from now on, until now, it was the Andreases of the world. Let's say after that, the Plamens of the world, who picked up the ball and continued rolling it over. But I feel like the difference now and 5 years ago is that 5 years ago, we did not have BlackRock pushing for the adoption of Bitcoin. By adoption, I mean purchasing. Obviously, it's not like point-to-point transactions, dude. It's like you're the sovereign individual, you have your own keys. It's unconfiscatable money. You can move through countries without anyone detecting how much wealth you have and so on. Like, he's never going to say that. What I think I mean. But he did go to a bunch of a bunch of American financial shows when the ETFs got approved to say, I know what I said about Bitcoin and I was wrong. I changed my opinion. Bitcoin is digital gold. Its scarcity is a fundamental shift of how we see, true scarcity. It's a good idea to put some money into Bitcoin, right? This is what he started saying. Why? I'm not confident he wants just to make the world a better place and he wants to assist Bitcoin, but it's like, I can make money off of that. And that, that's fine. That's his reasoning. So the way I see it is that from now on, the big boys are going to take it from us. By take it, I mean not like take it, but like take it like they're going to push for the adoption. Sadly, through a different perspective. Not through, this is going to change the world, this is going to make governments more accountable, this is going to make wars unaffordable. Not through that angle. Through a completely different angle. Speculation, invest, put your retirement, percent of your retirement money and so on there, so they can make money off of it. But I think that the true values of Bitcoin are going to be the byproduct of that. And I believe that yes, a lot of the Bitcoin sadly is going to be custodied in different custodians. Let's say a bunch of it is in exchanges anyway. More and more is going to get into ETFs or other similar products with the opening of Bitcoin loans from different proper regulated financial institutions with time. A lot of Bitcoiners are going to deposit percent of their portfolio there to take a loan against it and so on. That's sadly inevitable and logical future of Bitcoin. But I don't think that we need 100% or even 90% of the Bitcoin to be self-custodied. We don't need that. It's preferable, it would be awesome, but we don't need that for Bitcoin to do its thing, to make the system accountable. It's enough the fact that you can self-custody it, that you can, if you ask for it, withdraw. It's enough that if the company does not have your Bitcoin, they'll have to, lie to you for X amount of time, then you start to sue them, whatever, and then sooner or later, whoever is fractional reserving is going to go under. So I think it's going to make the system a lot more transparent and a lot more hard to cheat, just because the difference would be that central banks and governments cannot intervene and they cannot print out the money to bail out the financial institutions because they cannot print Bitcoin. So I'm with positive attitude towards the future of Bitcoin. And what's going to happen, it's going to be different than what we wanted. We wanted the self-custody everywhere, we wanted the point-to-point transaction everywhere. It's going to be a bit different. with time though, I believe that the point to point is gonna grow and grow and grow and grow and grow. I wanna spend my Bitcoin. I want to. I don't wanna convert to fiat. I wanna spend my Bitcoin. Some people are like, hodl for life, never spend your Bitcoin. So I'm like, no. The only thing more deflationary than Bitcoin is my time on this planet. That's the only thing. Like, I'm more certain that Bitcoin is gonna hit $1 million and that in 10 years the hash rate is gonna be higher, that I'm confident that I'm gonna be alive in 10 years. I'm not saying that I'm not confident. There's a very high probability I'm gonna be alive in 10 years. But there is even a larger probability that in 10 years, Bitcoin is gonna be at much higher price and at much higher hash rate. So the only thing that's more uncertain and therefore you have to take care of it is my health, is my time on this planet. I don't know how long I have. So I want to spend my Bitcoin. And if I am able to choose, I would choose to spend it without converting to fiat. I want the person who I sent to receive my Bitcoin, and of course, not for him to then convert it, to hold it. So I believe that in the coming 10 years, more and more people they're going to accept Bitcoin and they'll prefer the Bitcoin because they know that that's not a debt instrument. So, and there is no inflation, they're going to see the rise of the Bitcoin price and so on. So I believe that in 10 years compared to now, we're going to have a lot more businesses accepting Bitcoin, a lot more individuals accepting Bitcoin for their time, and whoever has Bitcoin already that have bought it since today or before that is going to be happy to spend it. So this is the future I see. I'm bullish about Bitcoin, I'm bullish about the future. There are definitely some risks. A lot of them I feel like some of them are new that we don't foresee right now. Some of them that we give so much thought, let's say like the quantum computers or whatever, are most probably noise. And going back to why I'm not selling myself out, or why am I not making more money, or why am I subsiding from the Bitcoin industry, is just that I don't need to make more money off of this. I don't need, I mean, hey, give me money, like I'm gonna put my QR code here, send me some sats, I'm just kidding. but once it's not about that, I don't want money. Like everyone wants money because money equals purchasing power, equals freedom of my time, freedom of what to do and so on. Everyone wants that. And that's okay, that's fine. There's nothing bad about that. The question is, how do you get it? Like how do you steal it, right? Do you steal it from someone? Do you take it by force? Do you take it by understanding how their mind works and just pushing their buttons to lie to them in a certain way? Like this is the way that I don't want to do it. I'm a software developer by craft, and I love writing code. I love building things that other people use. So at the moment, for the past 6 months, 8 months, I've been spending more and more time doing that. I've already developed 2 software products for myself that are extremely useful. They save me so much time. One of them is for the community, for the Bitcoin community. One of them is for personal use that saves me so much time. Amazing prototypes that are spaghetti code and written in a way that are too much hard-coded variables that work for me. So what I'm doing right now is rewriting these tools in a way that they can work for many other people to be able to use them with obviously registration and so on, so we can persist the data. So my point is that I'm having so much fun. And sooner or later, I'm gonna make money off of this because I'm gonna be selling. There's gonna be a free version, there's gonna be a paid version. And the paid version is definitely gonna be worth the money. It's not gonna be like, I'm twisting someone's hand to pay for something. I'll know they'll be happy to pay for it. They'll be like, holy shit, this saved me so much time. That's definitely worth, let's say, the 10 euros or whatever. So this is the way I wanna make my money.
One last question. This is so much fun, man. Thank you so much for this conversation. You're handing the baton to my producer on the film, Ivan. Why Ivan? Why do you feel confident giving him the reins and allowing him to take the conference to, it sounds like the BTC Balkans, right? It's going to be, to your point earlier about bringing these communities together. That's a big part of what his mission is all about. And it's not just him, right? There's 15 people. The whole Bitcoin club is coming together to make this happen. So I want to hear just why you did that and why you chose Ivan.
So I know Ivan, Ivan in Bulgarian.
Ivan.
It took us, let's say, 6 months of not properly trusting each other for one other reason, right? It wasn't that bad, but it was definitely not going smooth. I'll put it this way. And I started from 2021, I already started saying like Bitcoin is 60K. I see it going much higher. Boy, was I wrong. So I see it going much higher. And when it does, like I saw like the adoption is going to be done. There is no point to be a Bitcoin educator. I don't want to make money this way. I enjoy my craft, actually enjoy my craft, and I actually want to build software products and so on. So I'm gonna go back to that sooner or later. And I knew I'm gonna step out. I'm gonna do that. So I announced I'm looking for a host of the show. So I need someone who is fine with camera, who shares my values and my views and so on. So it's similar content. And then let's say we're gonna co-host for some time, for a month, for 2, for 3. And then I'm gonna jump in, let's say every 5th episode or whatever. And then eventually I'm just gonna let him go and do his own thing. But let's do a transition period. No one popped up for years. No one popped up. The Bitcoin bar. So we had a Bitcoin bar. I opened the craziest idea I've ever had. We opened the Bitcoin bar in 2023 until summer 2024. We couldn't create a team. We just couldn't. We couldn't get a self-sustaining system. And I remember I told my partner, I was like, we have to open it right now because Bitcoin is recovering, but it haven't recovered. And I know when it recovers, I'm gonna lose motivation to work hard. Because, I'll be richer, I'll be like, I want to spend my money, I don't want to work. So at the time I was like, now's the time to work hard. Let's build something right now. So I spent 20 evenings out of 30 in the bar, making events. Let's say we have a trivia night. Let's say we have a quiz night. Let's say we have a what is Bitcoin night, where you bring your newbies who show an interest in Bitcoin. Let's say we have a podcast. We have a this, we have a that. So many events, right? I've put my heart and everything there. So I made the art and, like so many different things. Like we bought the TV, we bought the PlayStation, in order for people to be able to play games there or rent the room to have bar service, but at the same time be able to watch football, whatever, and so on, and so on, and so on, and so on. At the end, when we were closing, I was like, listen up, guys. I've put a lot of money in the bar. It's not working out. We couldn't create a team. My partner wants out. I cannot run a bar. I'm not gonna run a bar by myself. I can promote it. I can be there. I can whatever. But and the other things, I don't want to do this forever. Like again, Bitcoin price was already going up. It already hit an all-time high of during March. I think it was March, April last year. So I'm like, the time is gonna come that at the latest until the end of the year, I can give time to the bar, and after that, I don't want to be a prisoner of the bar. I want to free myself. So I put this following offer publicly. Anyone who wants to purchase the bar can purchase it for the same amount of money of what comes with the bar that is not property of the place that we rent, but of the company of the bar. So let's say the stools, let's say the tables, let's say the PlayStation, the TV, the computer, the whatever. So you pay me the equivalent of that equipment. That's it. You don't pay me for the brand, you don't pay me for the whatever, you don't pay me for the work so far, that's it. And I'm gonna assist you in every possible way, except financially, to make this work. So you're gonna have, but obviously the rules was, do not change the brand, right? It has to be a Bitcoin bar, otherwise what's the point? No one took the deal. So I was like, you cannot lose money. Like, if you purchase it and then immediately sell the stuff, you get the zero. That's it. Only if you put effort and try to make it work and fail, then you can lose money. So it's the best possible start because it's already been there for 7 months and so on. No one took the deal. And then comes this year, right? And last year I speak with Ivan, so he came to the bar multiple times. And we spoke about different conferences, about Bitcoin adoption and so on. So what I saw in him was the absolute toxic Bitcoin maxi. So he's more toxic than me, okay? He's horrible, okay? So what happens is, I remember on one event, an example of how things did not go smooth at the beginning. So we talk about stablecoins. And I'm like, I get it. We don't want the dollar in any shape, way, or form, including stablecoins. I get it. But we're not there yet. The world is not ready. So what I think is best for Bitcoin today is Taro protocol was released, so you can get custom coins on Lightning. So therefore you can get USDT on Lightning. I'm like, this is perfect because it's the Trojan horse where people use the dollar, but through a Bitcoin wallet, and they pay fees in sats. It supports the Lightning Network, it supports the miners, it does and that. It's a Bitcoin adoption in a different way. People get used to the wallets, and so it's like it makes sense. It's like, no, USDT is shit. I don't want it. I'm like, dude, what are you talking about? Come on. Like, I'm like, push breeze, speak with your boss, adopt this thing, you need USDT in your wallet. It's like, no, we're not doing that. Like, come on, So this is an example of just different views, different opinions, and so on. So he's extremely toxic Bitcoin maxi, which is a good thing. He's extremely moral. He's of the right age, that he lived through life. Life happened to him. And extremely driven, He's, that we talked earlier about the word opraven, which means a person who believes in himself. He's like, I have no idea how to do that. I'll figure it out, He has that attitude. And he's, what's the word? Responsible. I think responsible is called, a person who can take the responsibility, He's responsible. Not, what's the word? Not responsible, but I think maybe it's just responsible, yeah. So when he gets a task, he's not gonna care if he fails. He's gonna, if he has to, cost him, but to do what he said he's gonna do, right? And very few people are like that, very few. The team that we have created throughout the past 5 years, the team the Bitcoin coup was created after we failed with the Bitcoin bar. So the team was coming almost, every week for sure to the Bitcoin bar. And I would say like almost every night when I was there, at least one person of the team was also there, at least, usually multiple people. And my point is that, so the Bitcoin co-op was created after Bitcoin bar. So why at the last nights of the Bitcoin, the last months of the Bitcoin bar, after we said to like, okay, we're gonna be done by contract, we have to stay here for another 3 months, but after that it's done. People are like, okay, this is horrible. We have finally a place where you can meet in person. This is such a big deal for us. Before that, it was just the online chats, the Facebook group, and every few months meeting up in person. Now we actually have a place where we can go. And there will be always at least one other Bitcoiner. This is a big deal for us. So the Bitcoin Co-op was created out of the fail, out of the ashes of the Bitcoin bar. And my point is that these people there, they're amazing people. I love them all. But Ivan just has more drive, more toxicity in him, more, I don't know what, but the qualities that showed to me this is the right person. And when we did a conversation about the handover, about the announcing that I'm stepping down and I'm gonna assist the Bitcoin conference and so on, and the Bitcoin adoption in Bulgaria, of course, I'm not like immediately disappearing, but I'll be stepping down and slowly doing less shows, going to less international conferences, less in Bulgaria financial events where I'm gonna speak about Bitcoin and so on. But why Ivan? And there I pretty much said about the same things about him. And the thing is that they said that we have a team already, and as I said, they've already done half the work on the last conference. So we have a team, and I know that if I task them make a conference, they're gonna do it, right? They're gonna connect the venue, contact the venues, they're gonna contact the catering, they're gonna do this, do that, book the hotels for the speakers and so on. But you must have a leader. And we went through what is a leader. A leader is not a boss, because the boss like you do that, and that's it. And after that, if someone doesn't do his job, it's like you're a bad person, you're fired or whatever, right? A leader cares the most from everyone. if they're gonna succeed, and he picks up when someone else fails, right? And he monitors, like, you know, all the moving parts, all the tasks, and if you're not getting feedback from somewhere for some time, which you expected to get feedback from, you're like poking there. Like, what's happening? Is it done? How's it going? Do you need help? Do you need assistance? Should I give this task to someone else? And so on. So for a project like that, you need a leader. You cannot have just a decentralized team that do their own thing without some centralization, but it's very important to be the right person on the top, a person who cares, a person who's driven, a person who's capable. And Ivan saw that. And he showed that to me even in less than a year and a half in the year, because like, in the first 6 months it didn't go so well. But after that, when we started spending some time together, and when I, I saw these qualities that I spoke about in him, and it was an easy decision to make once you see the right person. Before that, I was like, I have to continue doing it. I have to, because there's no one else. And if I stop doing it, no one's gonna do it. But then I never asked him. Until the very end when I asked him. But my point is, I never talked about him about this. Do you have this ambition? Do you want to do whatever? Like, no, I was just paying attention. And after the last conference, I was like confident. That's it. This is the guy. This is who's gonna be able to do it.
Plamen, thank you so much, man. Let's wrap this thing up. Appreciate you, man.